Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 21st episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. A month later there was a large gathering in the Sarutobi clan's private training ground. However, training wasn't the reason all these people were meeting there, despite most of them being ninjas. In fact, rather than their usual attires, said ninjas were wearing more elegant clothes, the men wearing suits and the women wearing kimonos. Yes, the kind of clothes one would wear to a formal, important event, like a wedding. More specifically, the wedding between Asuma Sarutobi and Kurenai Yuhi. After the latter revealed her pregnancy, the two of them decided to marry as soon as possible. In other circumstances, they might have taken more time to plan things out, but given the looming threat of the Akatsuki in the horizon, they wanted to jump right in. Attending the ceremony were, as expected, the entire Sarutobi clan, Asuma and Kurenai's students, their ninja friends, and their respective students if they have them like Kakashi or Guy. There was also Jiraya, Tsunade, and their children. The ceremony took place without any incident, but there were some whispers, that were quickly shushed, about Kurenai's rather noticeable belly. When the priest declared them husband and wife, Asuma and Kurenai kissed for the first time as married couple, and the guests erupted in a chorus of cheers, whistles and applauses. After the ceremony, they moved to the reception, which also took place in the Sarutobi training ground, inside several large sunshade tents that the clan had rented for the occasion. At that moment, Kurenai was having a talk with her three students. Neither of their drinks were alcoholic, the former because of her pregnancy, and the latter three because of their age. "I'm glad you guys managed to come," Kurenai told them. "I was afraid that, with how busy you've been in Taki, you might miss it." "Never," Naruto energetically stated. "How could you think such a thing?" "Yes. Regardless of the current state of our team, you will always be our sensei, and we will always be there for you," Hinata added. "Speaking of which, now that I have the chance to ask, how are you doing without me?" Kurenai asked. "We manage," Haku laconically replied. "We might not be in the need for a replacement, but I'm sure things will be easier once you come back to us." "Because you plan to come back, right? You aren't going to retire?" Naruto asked, a bit of worry dripping from his voice. Kurenai laughed in return. "Of course not. I'm just 30. Ninjas only retire at that age when they suffer crippling injuries. Once the baby is born and I get back in shape, I'll be with you. I mean, Shizune had 2 kids already, and she's still a kunoichi. Speaking of which, have you thinking any name for the baby?" Hinata asked. Kurenai smiled at Hinata. "No, not yet." "Why, do you have any suggestions?" "Yeah, if he's a boy, call him Naruto Jr." Naruto chimed in. Kurenai laughed again. "I don't think I'll be able to survive with 2 Narutos in my life. Plus I don't want to give my future son such a burden by naming him after an amazing ninja like you." "Bummer. But you have a point," Naruto admitted, then he chuckled. "I mean, Sasuke's parents named him after the old man Hokage's dad, which was one of the Warring States period's most feared ninjas, and look what it did to him. All ego and no talent. Better than be named after a piece of food." Sasuke replied from the other side of the tent, sounding rather annoyed. "Learn to take a joke," Naruto shouted back. "Maybe he should have been named after somebody with a sense of humor. Then again, there's still a lot of time before we have to decide a name," Kurenai said, bringing the conversation back to the topic. "Whatever name you end up choosing, at least try to be more original than Shizune and Shisui," Naruto pointed out. "And don't name the kid something like Kurosuma or Azurinai or something like that." Kurenai laughed again. "Don't worry, above all things, I plan to give my kid a name with personality." "What about the honeymoon? Do you know where you want to go?" Hinata asked. I'd always liked to visit the land of the moon. I heard is a really beautiful place ideal for such things, Kurenai said, before her face fell a little. Sadly, with the current situation, we can't afford going that far away, so in the end we decided to go to the land of the hot springs. Not as exotic, but it has a very nice resort, and it's close to the land of fire. My parents also went there for their honeymoon. They said it was a pretty nice place, so I'm sure both you and Asuma-sensei will have a nice time, Naruto said with a smile. Not far away from there, the groom, now husband, was having a chat with his students just like her wife was doing. Well, the male ones at least, since Ino was somewhere else. Man, who would have guessed that the day we met, Ino was right about you, Asuma-sensei, Shikamaru pointed out. Yeah, why did you even deny being in love with her? It's not like Kurenai-sensei is somebody to be ashamed of, Choji added, as he put more and more appetizers on a trail he was carrying. If you want an answer, well, we both like to keep our personal and professional lives apart. And we don't like people asking about the former, Asuma replied. Let me guess, in your case, it was because being the son of the third Hokage brought you unwanted attention? Shikamaru asked. You could said that, Asuma agreed with a shrug. Hey there, a new female voice chimed in. What are you talking about? The men of the tactical squad turned around to see their only female member walking towards them, smiling happily. She had her arm wrapped around the arm of a pale, black-haired boy in a suit with an uncannily neutral expression. On the other hand, the boy was holding a folder. Oh, hey, Ino. I had lost sight of you for a moment. I thought you left already, Asuma pointed out. Please, like I would ever leave a wedding so soon, especially the one from somebody so close to me, Ino replied with a hand wave. Anyway, do you guys remember Sai? As if on cue, the pale boy smiled. Hello there. Nice to meet you, Ino has told me a lot about you. Ah, yes, you've been hanging out with this guy a lot recently, Shikamaru noticed. Is he your boyfriend? Choji directly asked. I think it's a bit too soon for that. So far, I tasked upon myself to make him a little more social. You know, being inducted into ANBU from such a young age can't be healthy, Ino said as she shook her head. How did you meet him, by the way? Shikamaru asked. Sai went with us to the mission to liberate Kiri, Ino stated. Oh, I remember now. Choji said in realization. You're the guy Sakura punched out of the ship, aren't you? Choji. Why did you have to bring that up? Ino angrily chastised her rotund teammate. Sorry, but it was the only thing I remember from him, Choji said, shrugging. It's okay, I already put it past me. Ino told me that Sakura can have quite the temper, and my way with words wasn't as good back then, Sai softly said, widening his smile at the end. Oh, by the way, I came here to bring you my wedding gift, since Ino told me is accustomed to give a gift to the newlyweds. I don't have much money, so I decided to do something myself. Sai then handed the folder to Asuma. The bearded jonin opened it, and much to his surprise, he saw a picture of both him and Kurenai the moment they were saying the I do during the wedding. Despite being only a pencil sketch, it was amazingly realistic and lifelike, almost looking like a black and white photograph. It looks really impressive, boy. Thanks a lot, Asuma praised, as he closed the folder and placed it under his arm. But, if it's a picture of the wedding, when did you do it? During the wedding. It was the only time I could have been able to capture the moment, Sai explained. I had to miss part of the ceremony to do it, but sometimes you have to sacrifice something in order to obtain the better results. It's okay, kid. Your gift was really thoughtful and tasteful, Asuma praised. Thanks, but part of the credit goes to Ino. She was the one who suggested it, Sai stated. And with a good reason. If I didn't say anything, you would have bought him that booklet about how to cope when you stop smoking. Ino said, mildly angry. What? You said that your sensei was going to stop smoking, so something like that would have been useful, Sai replied. Or it's something that's just functional, not a proper wedding gift. See? I still have a lot of work to do with this guy, Ino said, shaking her head. She then smiled brightly again, and turned at Asuma. But I'm so proud that you finally decided to drop such an ugly and unhealthy habit. Especially now that you're going to be a dad. Asuma chuckled, as he sheepishly rubbed the back of his neck. Yes. Kurenai said that I either stopped smoking, or that she wouldn't marry me. Guess that the choice was obvious. Like I said before, you sometimes need to sacrifice something in order to obtain something even better, Sai added with a smile. The way you talk, it seems like you're speaking from experience, kid, Asuma noted. All ninjas end up sacrificing something during their careers, sooner or later, Sai replied with his unwavering smile. Yeah, I know that too well, Asuma replied, as he briefly reflected on how Hiruzen being the Hokage strained their relationship. Come on Sai, this is a wedding, let's talk about something less depressing and a bit more fitting with the situation, okay? Ino asked, as he nudged him a bit. Alright, Sai agreed. He then turned at Choji and Shikamaru. I see that most people came with a date, but you two seem to be on your own. Do girls find your appearances too ugly or your personalities too disgusting for staying with you? Asuma raised an eyebrow, and repressed a chuckle. The sound of Ino's hand slapping her face echoed through the whole village. While I don't need to justify myself on such issue, I do have a girlfriend. She's just from Suna, and she isn't here, Shikamaru pointed out. And yes, I know that's something a lot of single people say in order to boast, but in my case is true. Ask anybody here. And while I don't have a girlfriend, I've been in touch from a girl from Kyumo I met during the Chunin exams. Though sadly I don't get to see her as often as Shikamaru sees Temari, Choji replied. Which isn't that much, Shikamaru pointed out. You know what? I take back what I said. You're no longer ready to interact with other people on a casual level, Ino stated, as he grabbed Sai's arm and dragged him away. It was nice to meet you, Sai stated, as he was pulled away by the embarrassed blonde. While some people have been watching with some amusement how Sai embarrassed Ino in front of her teammates with his sheer lack of tact, certain two people have been paying more attention to the exchange than most others. Your friend certainly spends a lot of time with that guy, don't you think so? Sasuke pointed out. Indeed. I don't know why. Ino surely can do much better than him, Sakura replied. She said Sai's pretty nice deep down, but not even she herself seems to be sure of it. Are you worried about her? Sasuke asked, noticing Sakura's tone. The pinkette nodded. There's something odd about that guy. Something I can't put my finger on. And that's not counting on how little we know about his past. I'm afraid he might be using Ino for whatever purpose. The idea alone makes me shiver, and that's not even getting into what he might do once he no longer needs her. Vapid as she can be, Ino isn't a stupid girl. She might have a reason for spending so much time with that guy, Sasuke pointed out. If the guy tries something, I'm sure she will see it coming. You seem to have quite a lot of trust in Ino, Sakura pointed out. She's a ninja, just like you and me. I don't think the Hokage gave her the Chunin rank for her pretty face, Sasuke pointed out. Plus she can read minds. Even then, I think it would be good if we kept an eye on them, Sakura stated. Though I think there may be another reason as for why you seem to dislike so much Ino getting close with that guy, Sasuke pointed out. Sakura placed her hands on her hips, and frowned a little. And that would be? Sasuke shot her an uncharacteristic smirk. You're jealous that Ino is getting a boyfriend before you. What? An indignant Sakura replied, a little louder than she wanted. Here I am worrying about her well-being, and you bring up such nonsense. It wouldn't be that weird. Ino and you have always been rivals. You always competed in everything, romance included. It's only natural that you'll feel that way, Sasuke told her. Well, what about you and Naruto? You've always been rivals as well, and he got a girlfriend for way longer than you. Sakura said in a mildly accusatory manner, which Sasuke found worth a chuckle. Naruto and I may compete, but not in such topics. Besides, if I really wanted a girlfriend just to rub him in, I could have asked you or Karen, at least before she started dating Neji, out, and I'm sure you would have said yes, Sasuke confidently said. You know, this is one of those times in which your confidence in yourself comes out as more obnoxious than charming, Sakura replied, crossing her arms. So, if I asked you to be my girlfriend, would you say no? Sasuke asked. Sakura grew increasingly uncomfortable. She averted her gaze, as her face reddened. It's not nice to use my feelings for you in such a way, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke grabbed her by the shoulder, and forced her to look at him. Why the bashful attitude? You never were afraid to let me know what you felt for me. Things change, Sasuke-kun. I know that by pushing my feelings, I was only pestering you and making you dislike me more. That's why I decided that it was best to let you be, and if you really returned my feelings, you'd give me a sign, Sakura explained. Huh. Who would have guessed that that annoying girl from the academy would mature so much, Sasuke stated. Sakura just chuckled. She wiped a strand of hair from her face. Guess we all do, sooner or later. Being closer to you helped to understand you a bit better. I also understood that, if I didn't step up my game, I'd also be the weakest link of our team, and that wouldn't endear you to me much. Not to mention, that I'd put yours, Karen's and Shizen-sensei's life in danger by not pulling my share of the weight. Again, another thing I would have never guessed I would see when we first became a team, but guess that life has a knack for challenging expectations, Sasuke noted. You were my inspiration. I took a page from Hinata's book and decided that I should look at you the same way she used to look at Naruto. I mean, look at her. She used to be so shy and withdrawn, and not that strong of a ninja, and after graduating she became such a powerhouse, and that was before getting the Tenseigan, Sakura pointed out. And what will you do, once you catch up to me? I won't be a good source of inspiration anymore, Sasuke asked. Sakura let out a mirthless chuckle. Catching up to you, heh. Who would have guessed you can crack jokes? With that attitude, you probably wouldn't, Sasuke said, sounding mildly chastising. You can't seriously believe that. I mean, with all the stuff you can do with the Sharingan, Sakura began. Yeah, my clan has a blood limit. So what? Look at Tsunade and Jiraya. They were born without blood limits, yet they became two of the most powerful ninjas who ever lived, Sasuke countered. Well, you have a point, Sakura conceded, as she rubbed her arm. But what? Sasuke asked. You can always push yourself a little harder every day. Limits can always be surpassed. New heights can be achieved. That's what you've been doing so far. Why you should stop now? Who said I did stop? Sakura asked, crossing her arms. Your quitter attitude, Sasuke replied. Quitter? I'd like you to see training with Gai-sensei, Sakura said, rolling her eyes, before shivering a little at the memory of the beginning of such torture. Which I still do, by the way. The problem here is that you see a big gap between our level of skill and power, and think that since there's no chance of catching up to me, why bother trying? You probably feel pretty comfortable with the level you achieved. But then you realize that such thing may not be enough, Sasuke said. It's good that you see me as an inspiration, but you shouldn't mistake it for a goal. You sound like you talk from experience, Sakura noted. And I do. Remember that even before the clan's downfall, Itachi and Shisui were the two strongest Uchihas the clan ever produced. And I felt very frustrated when I was unable to catch up to them, no matter how hard I trained. And in my case, it was justified since unlike you and me, they didn't have anything I did not, Sasuke explained. Until I realized that I was looking at it the wrong way. I still look at Itachi and Shisui for strength, but I want to improve for my own sake, regardless if I catch up with them or not. Try to surpass yourself with each passing day, and you'll see real progress. And before you realize it, the gap between our power and skill level will be much smaller than you realize. Wow, that was really inspirational, Sakura said in awe. Sasuke smirked. To be completely honest, I'm only paraphrasing what Itachi and Shisui told me once. That's really good advice. You're lucky to have them, Sakura sincerely said. Lucky indeed. Even after losing most of my clan, I still feel grateful for having them. I don't know what I would have done if I lost them as well, Sasuke wondered. Sakura blushed a little, as she started to rub her arm. Well, I know it's not the same since I'm not part of your clan, but as long as I'm here, you'll never be alone. I know. But that doesn't mean it can change in the future, Sasuke said. Wait, what? What do you? Sakura's words died in her mouth as the realization hit her like a sledgehammer to the gut. Her eyes were open wide, as her blush intensified. Sasuke-kun. Are you telling me listen, I have a responsibility to the Uchiha clan, Sasuke interrupted her. A few years ago we used to be more than 100, now, even with Shisui's brats, our numbers are still in the single digits. I can't let Itachi and Shisui do everything, I have to get married and produce children as well. And I can't marry anybody, the mother of my children must be a strong kunoichi, somebody worthy of the Uchiha name. However, that's not the only thing I'm looking for. I want my future wife to be somebody I can love, somebody who makes my life whole. And somebody I can make happy as well in return. Sasuke-kun. Sakura was at loss for words upon hearing the Uchiha's speech. And I think that you can be that woman, Sasuke finished. I'm not asking you to marry me on the spot. But I want to see if I'm right and you're that special somebody. Sasuke then sighed. Sorry, I think I'm being too theatrical. I'm not good at this. What I want to ask you is, do you want to become a couple, and see what fate has for us? A star flashed in each of Sakura's eyes, as her brain processed the words coming out of Sasuke's mouth. You mean it? Sakura asked, coming close to him. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't, Sasuke replied, rolling his eyes a little. Oh my god. Yes. Yes. A million times yes. Sakura screamed, as she wrapped her arms around the Uchiha's neck. Sasuke grew a bit uncomfortable as Sakura's over-the-top reaction drew the attention of quite a few people. Some muttered something to themselves while others snickered. You know, I think I made clear I wasn't asking you to marry me, just to go on a date and see if things work out between us, Sasuke stated, as he gently tried to push Sakura aside. Just let me dream, damn it. Sakura said, still in the same elated tone, strangely enough. Meanwhile, at another table, Kakashi was sharing a table with his students and Rin. However, his students got up to talk to other people, leaving the two members of Team Minato alone. Look at them, married already, Rin said with a chuckle. I knew that there was something more than friendship between them back then, but seeing them married it feels unreal. You can't help but still see them as they were, can you? Kakashi asked. Despite the wording, he didn't mean to sound accusatory. I can't help it. When I heard your names, I picture how you looked before my death. Such disconnect is hard to reconcile, Rin stated. I know what you mean. When I think about Obito, I can't help but think in that annoying boy that wanted to become Hokage, Kakashi told her. And who had a crush on me. In hindsight, he wasn't exactly subtle, Rin said with a chuckle. He felt that since he was in the same team as you, his chances would be greater, Kakashi pointed out. Which isn't that rare to happen, as Kurenai and Asuma were part of the same team as well. Maybe if things were different, Obito and I would have been an item, who knows, Rin said, before directing her eyes towards the newlywed couple, now happily engaged in a chat with Shizune and Shisui. Still, I'm happy for them. They deserve each other. I can't wait to see how their baby looks like. Oh, that means that we have to make them a gift when he or she is born, Kakashi said, sounding a little annoyed. Man, after it took so much thinking to find that perfect wedding gift, now I'll have spent more sleepless nights thinking in a proper gift. Kakashi, your wedding gift was a book on how to stop smoking, plus several boxes of nicotine patches, Rin deadpanned. That's hardly an A-class wedding gift. Hey, Asuma said Kurenai forced him to drop smoking, so I decided I could give him something practical, Kakashi replied, not sounding ashamed in the slightest. Though a gift for a baby is going to be a little trickier. Oh, I already have an awesome idea, Rin proudly said. Oh? What is it? Kakashi asked, interested. So you can take that idea for you? Sorry but no, copy ninja, Rin replied, emphasizing the last two words. Ah, you hurt me, Rin, Kakashi mockingly replied. Come on, I promise I won't copy you. Very well then. It's a crib, Rin stated. I know it's not something overly original, but I'm sure they'll appreciate. A crib, huh? A nice gift. Practical as well. Though some cribs can be a bit expensive, Kakashi warned her. Oh, I don't plan to buy a crib, Kakashi. I'll make one from scratch with my special talents, Rin replied, smiling widely. So, you got a better hang of it? Kakashi asked. Once we have some privacy, I'll show you how much I progressed since the last time you saw me fight, Rin proudly said, sounding almost like a boast. Excuse me, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? A new female voice asked. Kakashi and Rin turned around to see Ino of all people standing in front of them. Sorry, I couldn't help but hear your conversation. You were talking about a gift for Asuma-sensei and Kurenai-sensei's baby, right? That, we were, Kakashi confirmed with a single nod. Why? Do you want advice from us? Yes. You see, I didn't have to think in a gift for the wedding since my clan provided all the flowers for the ceremony for free, but sadly I can't cheat like that again, Ino said, chuckling a little. So I was wondering, do you mind I borrow Rin a little for some girl talk? Sure. Do you mind staying alone, Kakashi? Rin asked. Kakashi replied by pulling one of his many Aika novels. I know how to make the best of solitude, so don't worry about me. I can't believe he brought one of those smutty books to a wedding of all places, Ino disapprovingly said, shaking her head. Anyway, come on Rin. I want to take a break from this multitude, plus the weather's great for a walk. Alright then. See you later, Kakashi, Rin said as she got up, and followed Ino outside of the large tent. You know, when I was a genin, I asked myself, what kind of dumbass hires a team of ninja to babysit? Shouldn't it be better just to hire some civilian teen to do the job? Shursui began. But now that I have kids myself, I see how easy and practical it is. Not to mention fast, Shizun chimed in. It might be a bit more pricey than hiring a civilian babysitter, but the advantages are surely worth every additional Ryo. It's kind of funny when you think about it. We can't take care of our kids because of our job as ninjas, so we hire lower-ranked ninjas to do that job for us, Shursui said with a chuckle. Kurenai and Asuma were now having a talk with Shizun and Shursui about their experiences with their kids. After that, they also had planned to ask Yugao and Heiate. So I am taking your life changed a lot since you got kids, right? Asuma asked. Oh, absolutely. Though it's not as bad as it may seem at first sight. I mean, yeah, you don't have as much free time you used to have, Shizun began. You need to spend much less money on yourself and more on the kids, Shursui continued. The sleepless nights when the kids feel like crying for no reason, the constant battle of making them eat their food, and battle isn't an euphemism. Some days our kitchen ends up in a state comparable to the battlefields of the Third War. And pray they don't get sick. It's all of the above multiplied by 10, plus a stream of vomit. Not that they need to be sick to throw up for some reason, Shursui noticed that color was starting to disappear from the newlywed couple's faces. Honey? I think we're scaring them. Realizing Shisui was right, Shizun laughed awkwardly. But don't worry. All of that stuff will be meaningless compared to how much a kid will brighten your life. We hope so, hee, Kurenai said, laughing a little. We know that taking care of a kid is a serious endeavor, but for a moment you made it look as it was more an arduous chore than anything. Though, a kid also gives you perspective, you know what I mean? Shizun asked. I mean, we're ninjas. We risk our lives with each mission. I can say that all of us here are not afraid to die to complete a mission, or to save a comrade, or something like that. But when you have this little one at home depending on you, and wonder what's going to be of him or her if this time you don't return, yeah. I know I worried my father when I started my career as a kunoichi, but I believe this is worse. I mean, if I died, even if it would have been devastating, my dad could still take care of himself. But if it was him who died, Kurenai said. Yes. That's why we agreed that I'd take a job that entails less risk and does not require me to leave the village for a long periods of time. If something happened to Shizun, pray it doesn't, our kids would still have me, Shisui explained. Plus at least one of us will be in the village if an emergency happens, Shizun continued. We agreed it would be him since he mostly did solo missions or with temporary teammates. I'm the Jonin sensei of a team, so I wouldn't be able to do it without leaving them. Which makes me wonder, do you guys plan to do anything similar? Shisui asked. I'm bringing this up because, unlike us, the two of you are Jonin sensei. The two of you take risky missions that make you spend time away from the village. While I don't plan to retire, I think I may give Naruto command of the assault squad permanently. That way I won't be so bound to the team, and I'll be able to take some time if the situation calls for it. Well, you have it easier. Your students are either Jonin or special Jonin, and from what you told me, they all soon will be the former. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them took a team of their own, Asuma stated. Hinata has expressed interest in doing such a thing, but she herself admitted that, even if she got the rank shortly, she doesn't feel ready for the task, and thinks she could use some more experience, Kurenai told the others. Wait, isn't Hinata like, the new head of her clan? Shisui asked, scratching his head. I mean, clan heads are usually pretty busy. I don't know where is she going to find time to do both things. It can be managed, Asuma interjected. My father was the Jonin sensei of the Sannin while he was also head of the Sarutobi clan and Hokage. How did he manage to do all that, I'll never know. But it sure as hell didn't leave him any time to spend with his family, the bearded Jonin said, some bitterness leaking from his voice. Asuma, Kurenai said, as she squeezed his hand with her own. The bearded Jonin breathed deeply as he forced himself to calm down. He eyed his father, the former Hokage, chatting with his fellow clansmen and other guests. I know, Asuma apologetically said. I like to think I put all the bad blood between my father and I behind, but some things are hard to forget. If anything, I want to make sure my relationship with my kid is better than the one I had with father. You know I'm on the same boat. My father never approved of me being a kunoichi. He felt such career wasn't befitting of a woman, Kurenai said. Shizun raised an eyebrow, her face becoming indignant. Really? What a bunch of nonsense. Indeed it was. My father was a very traditional man, Kurenai stated. No, being traditional is following some outdated customs because they're part of your clan history or something like that. Women have been ninjas since the foundation of the great villages, Shizun stated. During the Warring State period, women were often barred from becoming ninjas. The reason was that due to the absurdly high mortality rate of the era, all clans agreed that women should be away from danger, and produce and raise children. They were basically glorified baby factories. With the advent of the village system, the mortality rate greatly decreased, and it became more acceptable for women to become ninjas or other high-risk jobs. Of course, not everybody was ready to embrace social progress enabled by this new era, and in some places, while not banned, women were discouraged from being ninjas. My relationship with my father wasn't the best either. I think that was one of the reasons Asuma and I clicked so easily. A bit said if you think about it, Kurenai sadly chuckled. Sometimes I wish I had at least tried to make things up with him before he died during the Nine-Tails attack. I know what you mean. It's not until you lose somebody that you realize that you could have been a bit more understanding to them, Shui solemnly agreed. Their memory, it's like a wound that will never heal. There was a moment of silence following the usually cheerful and laid-back Uchiha's unusually serious and deep statement. Kurenai forced herself to smile as she pushed the bitter memory of the last time her father was alive away. But enough of such gloom talk, okay? Today is a day of celebration. I want everybody in their best mood. At another part of the large sunshade tent, Jiraya, Tsunade and their two youngest children were also enjoying the reception. Enjoying the wedding, kids? Jiraya asked the twins. I dunno. I preferred Shizunichan's wedding. There were less people, and we knew most of the guests, Kaida complained with a shrug. I don't even know who most of these people are. Because we were Shizunichan's family, Hagane pointed out. And the groom's family were just 2 people at the time. Yes. A good chunk of the guests are the Sarutobi clan and Kurenai's family, even if the latter is much smaller than the former, Tsunade pointed out. Though you should have seen our wedding. It had even less people. Less? But you guys are like living legends. I'm sure lots of people would have loved to attend. Kaida said, visibly surprised. And they wanted to attend, make no mistake. But weddings are special and meaningful events, and thus you want to share them with your loved ones, not a bunch of strangers. You see, neither your mother nor I had any family left by the time we were married. I had Naruto, Tsunade pointed out. Jiraiya rolled his eyes a little. Yes, you have Uzumaki blood and all that, but your family ties aren't that close. Besides, Naruto wasn't even 4 at the time, so he hardly counts as a proper guest. And how many people did attend your wedding? Hagane asked, putting the conversation back on track. Just Naruto, Shizun, Sensei, Itachi and Shui, Tsunade replied. Sensei was the one who conducted the ceremony. The reception was in our house, when we merely talked about various topics as we had some food with sake in the living room. I know I said I didn't like crowds, but that sounded pretty boring for a wedding, Kaida said, crossing her arms. We like to think it was something intimate. Who cares if it wasn't something grand nor grandiose? It was a memorable day for us, and that's what counted, Jiraiya said. I can understand Dad not having any family left since he was an orphan and all that, but Mom is a senju. Our clan founded Konoha. Where were the other senjus? Hagane asked. I read a lot about our clan in history books, but they don't detail what happened to it. Yeah, I would want my wedding to have more people than you guys, Shizunichan and Naruto Nizan, Kaida deadpanned. Then you know what to do. Marry a guy with a pretty big family. Wanna know which are Konoha's biggest clans? Jiraiya asked, chuckling. Dad! Kaida protested, turning red. I don't mean right now. Kidding, kidding. I already knew that, the Hokage laughed, holding up his hands in defense. Besides, after you were born, I passed a law to make illegal to date the Hokage's daughter until she's 30, under penalty of death. Very funny, Dad, Kaida said as she rolled her eyes. Funny, yeah, Jiraiya laughed, as his eyes narrowed, sparkling with a dangerous glint. Hey, look at that, they're clearing the middle zone from tables and chairs, Tsunade pointed out. I guess it's time for the dance then, Jiraiya pointed out. Then, his face blanched as a realization dawned upon him. Oh shit, Tsunade's face suddenly became sad. We didn't have a dance in our wedding, she recalled, sounding melancholic. Oh god, here we go again, Jiraiya muttered to himself, before placing a hand on Tsunade's shoulder. Well, like we just said, our wedding was pretty small, so there was no point at dash, how the hell did we have a wedding without a dance? Tsunade asked, sounding far louder than she intended, but not caring at all. Well, it's all in the past and no. We have to make up for it. Come on, let's dance until our feet start to bleed. Tsunade insisted, as she dragged Jiraya to the dance floor. Then I'll heal them, then we'll continue dancing until they bleed again. Jiraya couldn't repress a groan. The same thing happened in Shizune and Shirsue's wedding, and he knew that dance until their feet bleed wasn't an hyperbole. This is Asuma and Kurenai's wedding. Shouldn't they start dancing first? Jiraya uncomfortably asked. Fortunately, that question stopped her in her tracks. She huffed and crossed her arms. Fine. But then we get to dance more than anybody. As Jiraya had said, Asuma and Kurenai opened the dance, everybody else watching as they moved, holding each other in their respective arms. After a few minutes of solo dancing, other couples started to join as well. Let's dance slow. I don't want to accidentally step on you. Hinata laughed in return, as she and Naruto danced. Come on, Naruto-kun, you're not doing it that bad. If you say so, Naruto replied with a chuckle. Though we can go slow if you want to, Hinata said, bringing herself closer to Naruto, and slowing her movements. Albeit. Naruto repeated. I also want to dance slowly. So I can enjoy the moment the longest. Just the two of us, dancing like this. No missions, no Akatsuki, no friends dying, just the two of us, Hinata said. Well, we can dance like this whenever you want, Naruto replied. No, we can't, Hinata replied. Huh? Naruto dumbly asked. Well, technically we can, but it's not the same, you know? It's not the same dancing just because you want, than dancing to celebrate a special event like this one. Plus, it's not just us. All our friends are enjoying the moment too, Hinata pointed out. Plus we'll have to go back to Taki and continue helping with the reparation efforts. Ugh, don't remind me, Naruto said, as he continued to dance. Too bad you don't get to undo Akatsuki's destruction by punching them. Otherwise this would be fun. Come on, we're almost finished with that. It can't take more than a week to finish what's left, Hinata said in an encouraging tone. Besides, imagine how long we would have taken if you couldn't create so many clones. I think that's why I feel it's such a bother. With the clones' memories, it makes me feel as if I've been doing the job of 100 people, Naruto said with a chuckle, which Hinata echoed. As they continued to dance, they passed on another couple, Shino and Fu. The usually energetic girl had decided to dance slowly as well, something Shino would no doubt be thankful for. For the event, she had traded her usual scantily clad appearance for an elegant red kimono with white floral patterns. The kimono was loose enough that to hit her muscles, but it did little to hide her tall stature, especially compared to the much shorter Aburame. Some would say that they looked ridiculous, but those who knew them thought that they were adorable instead. Thank goodness we managed to save her, Naruto told Hinata. A few seconds late, but we did save her. Just like we did save Gaara. Try not to dwell on what could have been, it's not healthy, Hinata softly chastised. I know. But in both cases, we just barely did it. We need to be better prepared to face Akatsuki. We're bound to run out of luck sooner or later, and there are still 4 Jinchuriki that need to be protected, Naruto insisted. How's your Tensigen training, by the way? I'm progressing. Slowly but surely. I think I could go faster if I could be trained by somebody with a Tensigen, rather than from old books and scrolls, Hinata told him. Not to put any pressure on you, but try a bit harder, okay? Naruto said, trying not to sound imposing. Look how much trouble Kakuzu and Haiden gave us, and I'm sure they aren't even among the better half of the Akatsuki. Not to mention the one with the Rinnegan. I know. I'll train even harder. Meanwhile, I'll see if I can get Dad to train both me and Fu on using Tailed Beast Chakra. That's the best weapon we have against an enemy of such power, Naruto stated. Naruto, shoo, Hinata said, placing a finger on her lips. You're getting carried away. Let's enjoy the moment, okay? There will be plenty of time for training and worrying about Akatsuki. Oh, right, sorry, Naruto stammered, as he and Hinata continued dancing. Now relax, and enjoy the moment, Hinata said, as she rested her head on his shoulder, before giggling. And the company. Ah, the dance already started? I can't believe we missed it. Ino's voice complained, as she and Rin entered the tent. Where is Sai? There's no way I don't get to dance at a wedding. I think it's over there, Rin said, pointing to a corner of the tent. Ah, right. Thank you. Ino said, as he headed towards the pale brunette, before turning at Rin one last time. Oh, and keep in mind what we talked, alright? I will, don't worry, Rin said, as she also went to find somebody to dance with. Huh. It seems that Ino and Rin became friends, Naruto noticed. Despite her somewhat blunt personality, Ino-san is a very outgoing and confident girl. Making new friends doesn't look like a challenge to her, Hinata pointed out. Hey, you have nothing to be jealous of. You also have lots of friends, Naruto pointed out. I know. I'm not the same super shy, stuttering girl from the academy. But back then, I wish I could be as open as Ino-san was, Hinata said, before her eyes rested on Rin, trying to mingle with the crowd. I think Rin has it worse than me, given the circumstances. I'm happy for Rin. Given what she went through, she needs a lot of friends to rely on, Naruto pointed out. And together we will make her feel much better about her situation. Yes. Yes we will, Hinata agreed. And the two of them, alongside the rest of the wedding guests, continued dancing and enjoying the night without any care. Land of Lightning, southern border. At the same time the wedding reached its end, something else happened hundreds of kilometers to the north. Standing over a stone hill, Obito Uchiha overlooked the scenery before him. A mostly rocky expanse, with a river crossing it, and patches of vegetation here and there, mostly near the river. There was a small town at the edge of river, and a Kumogakure outpost built at the base of a nearby mountain. I think this place will do, Obito said, as he removed one of his gloves, bit his thumb, and made 5 hand seals. Wherever you're hiding, Jinchuriki, this will surely force you to come out. Summoning Jutsu. And Obito slammed his hand into the ground. It was a sunny morning in Konoha. Most people, both ninjas and civilians, were now flooding the streets as they headed towards their day jobs. Jiraya, however, had been almost an hour in his office. Not working, mind you, working on his next novel. He used the clones for that. 3 days had passed since Kurenai and Asuma's wedding. The morning after the wedding, the newlywed couple left for their honeymoon to a resort in the land of hot springs, the same one Jiraya and Tsunade had gone for their own honeymoon many years ago. Going by Jiraya's own experiences with the place, he knew Asuma and Kurenai would have a great time. They weren't the only ones who left that morning. The assault and animal squads, as well as Fu, returned to Takigakure to help finish the reconstruction efforts. According to the reports, they wouldn't take more than 2 weeks until they were done. Naruto had faith that nothing terrible would happen while he and his friends were away. And until that point, Jiraiya was sharing his adopted son's optimism. Somebody knocked at the door. Oh come on, I wasn't supposed to have any meetings until 10. Jiraiya groaned as he quickly hid the draft of his next novel. Who's there? It's me, Jiraiya. We have an urgent message from Kumo addressed to you. Jiraiya immediately recognized the voice of his sensei and predecessor. That got Jiraiya's attention. Messages from Kumo were hardly good news. What would the Raikage want now? Come in. Bring that message. Sarutobi entered the office and handed Jiraiya a scroll with Kumo's seal on it. Unfurling the scroll, the white-haired Hokage read its contents, and the more he read, the more his face paled. He furled the scroll again and slammed it against the table. "It is bad?" Hiruzen asked, with a bit of worry in his voice. "Umbu!" Jiraya yelled. Four Anbu wearing different animal masks suddenly appeared before him. "Bring Shizen's medical squad here, now," he barked. "Bring me Rin Noera as well." "Yes, Hokage-sama," the Anbu said, aware of the urgency of the situation, vanishing in an instant. "I take it is bad," the Hokage-turned-advisor concluded. "Let's hope it's not a repeat of the Hyuga affair." "Not exactly the same, but it can be even worse," Jiraiya said, and to prove his point, he handed the message to Hiruzen. After reading it, the former Hokage echoed his student's reaction. "This isn't bad but catastrophic." Jiraiya slumped into his chair, and let out a tired sigh. Of all the times for Naruto not to be in the village. A few minutes later, Shizune and her 3 students stood in front of the Hokage and Sarutobi. According to the Anbu, they were at their usual training spot, ready to begin their morning routine. Thank goodness they were in the village, or else it would have been a catastrophe, Jiraiya thought. Even if it would have preferred Naruto, the medical squad would work as well. Hell, it could work even better. "Good morning to you 4. Sorry for calling you with such haste, but there's an emergency. Konoha has to undertake a mission that only you 4 can accomplish." "What is it, Hokage-sama?" Shizune asked. "You see, a few minutes ago we received a message from Kumogakure," Jiraiya said, as he handed the message to Shizune. As the young jounin read it, Jiraiya continued talking. "The message says that a Kumo border outpost and a nearby village have been attacked and destroyed. The few survivors claim it was the 9 Tails who did it." "What? That's stupid. The 9 Tails is sealed inside Naruto Nizan," Karen protested. "And he doesn't know how to control his power to its fullest. And even if he was, Naruto has been in Takigakure for the past days. If that wasn't the case, Kakashi-sensei would have sent a message," Sakura added. "What you said is true. However, we're contemplating another possibility." "Sensei, why don't you tell them?" Jiraiya said, as both his and everybody else's eyes rested on the old man. Hiruzen cleared his throat before speaking. "You see, I was there when Minato sealed the 9 Tails inside his son. I was unable to help, or even see it closer due the barrier erected by Kushina prior their deaths. Something I and a few others saw, and what most people don't know, is that Minato only sealed half the Kyuubi inside his son." There was a collective gasp. Those present opened their mouths to ask questions, but Jiraiya raised a hand, and wordlessly ordered them to remain silent and let Hiruzen finish his tale. "You see, I presume he did it because Naruto was a newborn baby, and he wouldn't be able to contain the whole fox himself. So using the Reaper Death Seal, he sealed half of the 9 Tails chakra within himself, before sealing the other half within Naruto," Hiruzen said. "But if that's true, then the 9 Tails' other half should be within the Reaper's stomach, right? If I remember correctly, that's how that jutsu works, right?" Sasuke asked. Both Jiraiya and Hiruzen nodded. "Then there's no way the other half of the beast should have been able to escape the Reaper," Shizune said. "Again, that's true. But remember that almost 3 years ago, when Orochimaru attacked Konoha, he used impure world resurrection to bring Minato back to life as an undead puppet," Hiruzen replied. "Such thing wouldn't have been possible since his soul wouldn't be accessible. Yet he somehow managed to bypass that. And by doing so, he also rescued the other half of the Kyuubi's chakra, since it was bound to Minato's soul," Jiraiya continued. "But you told me that you defeated the reanimated Minato, right?" Shizune asked. "Yes. And by doing so, his soul returned to the afterlife, where it belongs," Jiraiya said. "But the 9 Tails, like every other tailed beast, it's immortal," Sakura said in realization. "And even if you manage to destroy one, they will simply be reborn again." "Yes," Jiraiya confirmed. So, the Nine-Tails' other half has been resurrected, and decided to attack the Land of Lightning? Karen asked. Here's the thing. If it happened as you suggested, the ninjas in the border outpost would have seen the beast coming. But according to the few witnesses, the Nine-Tails suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and attacked without warning, Jiraya said. Which is exactly what happened when the Nine-Tails attacked Konoha 16 years ago, Hiruzen revealed. This led us to believe that somebody had put the Nine-Tails under their control and used it to destroy Konoha, which we later found was Obito Uchiha, believed to be dead back then. Wait, if Akatsuki got their hands on the Nine-Tails, why did they use it to attack Kumo? Why don't they seal it with the others? Shizun asked. We don't know. My guess is that they want to lure Naruto out into the open with it, so they can have both halves, Jiraiya said. If that was the case, why attack the Land of Lightning? Why not the Land of Fire? Sakura asked. The Land of Lightning is hostile territory. We might not be at war, but we aren't friends nor allies either, Hiruzen pointed out. Clever bastards, Sasuke grumbled. Yes. We do suspect that this might a trap from either Akatsuki or Kumo, do not rule out such possibility, so Jiraiya and I decided not to recall Naruto for the time being, Hiruzen said. Still, given what we know, we can't afford to just hope it's a trap and that the Kyuubi's other half isn't roaming the world free. That's why I gathered your team. Sasuke, with your Manjikyu Sharingan, you'll be able to subdue the beast and put it under your control. Karen's chakra chains can be of help as well. Once you rendered it docile, Shizun will seal it. The best solution would be to bring the fox to Konoha and seal it inside Naruto as well, but having a tailed beast released like that, even under Sasuke's mind control, would be too risky, so you'll have to seal it immediately, Jiraiya explained, as his eyes rested on Karen. The redhead was starting to feel uncomfortable. Not only Jiraiya, but Hiruzen also has his eyes fixed on her, looking at her with a mix of pity and fear. Hokage-sama? Sarutobi-sama? Why are you looking at me like that? You're not planning to dash, Karen, the Nine-Tails is a special kind of beast. Its chakra it's too intense, and the host needs to have a special kind of chakra powerful enough to contain it without letting the fox harm its host. So far, only the Uzumaki clan fit those criteria, Hiruzen said, his eyes reflecting sadness. Sorry, Karen, but we have no other options. You have to be the container of the other half of the Kyuubi. Karen's legs suddenly felt very weak, threatening to make her fall, while her stomach churned. No, she said, almost in a whisper. Listen Karen, I know I'm asking you a lot, but there is no other options. You're the best candidate to dash, Jiraiya began. No. Karen shouted. You can't make me do it. You can't. No, I won't do it. The panic-stricken redhead said before she fled the office. I'll go talk to her, Sakura said, as she rushed after her teammate. Jiraiya sighed again. I knew this was going to be a massive headache. Then, an tiger-masked ANBU appeared, followed by a certain brown-haired teenage girl. Hokage-sama, here's Rin Noera, as you requested, the ANBU stated. Unlike Karen, Sakura wasn't a censor, but after looking a bit around the tower, jumping from one roof to another, she quickly saw her red-headed teammate slumped on a bench, looking miserable. Not without a good reason, Sakura was forced to admit. Rehearsing what she should say, the pinkette landed beside the Uzumaki girl. Karen. There you are, Sakura said. Leave me alone, Karen cried, not bothering to look at Sakura. Karen, listen no, shut up. Karen snapped. Don't even open your mouth. Do you have any idea of what the Hokage asked me to do? Sakura bit her lip. Karen had all the right to be both angry and scared, so she had to choose her words carefully. Listen Karen, I can't even imagine what is it to be asked to do such a thing. Sakura decided not to pretend she could empathize with her plight. But if Hokage-sama asked you to do this, it's because there's nobody else who can do it. Bullshit. Karen angrily replied. I know for a fact that Tsunade-sama has Uzumaki blood in her. Why didn't he ask her to be her vessel? Or one of their biological children? They're Chunin, just like I am. You know it's not the same. Those children already have a target in their backs because of their blood limits. It would be unfair to make them carry an even bigger burden, Sakura replied, not needing to remind her friend of that rescue mission. You know, before arriving here, I spent all of my childhood running away from some unseen enemy, Karen began. She removed her glasses, and wiped the tears coming from her eyes. Always alert if somebody looked at us funny. Never staying in the same place more than a week. Living on the road. And when we arrived at Konoha, I thought that I finally got away from that. Curse my Uzumaki blood. No matter where I go, it always ruins my life. Sakura bit her lip, and forced herself to remain silent. She spent the next few minutes wordlessly comforting the crying redhead by gently patting her back. I know you must feel scared, but look at Naruto, Sakura pointed out. He's been a Jinchuriki all his life, and he turned out pretty good, don't you think so? Why yes, Karen forced herself to admit. She didn't realize that Sakura left out all the situations in which the Kyuubi made Naruto's life more difficult, either directly or indirectly, but Sakura was sure it would be for the better. And you have all of us to support you if such thing happens, Sakura said. If? Karen repeated. You heard Hokage-sama. We don't know for sure if it's the other half of the Kyuubi. It may just be a farce of Kyumo or Akatsuki in order to draw Naruto into hostile territory, Sakura confidently said. And what if you're wrong? Karen asked. Like I just said, we will be there to help and support you whenever you need. And not just us, but I'm sure Neji, Naruto, and the rest of your family will, Sakura stated. She then grabbed both of Karen's hands. If you feel you can't do it, think in them, think in all the people you love, and love you. Think that you will do this to protect them, to keep them safe, just like Naruto has been doing all his life. Karen spent a few moments silent, slowly absorbing Sakura's words. After the pinkette released her hands, she put her glasses back on. What you said doesn't make me any less scared. Not at all, Karen began, then her face reflected an expression of determination. She closed her hand into a fist. But you are right. It will be horribly irresponsible to leave half the 9 tails like that. And if there's nobody else who can carry this burden, then I will. Sakura smiled, and nodded. That's the spirit. Come on, we need to go back to the Hokage Tower. No need for that, Shizen's voice said. Sakura and Karen turned around, and saw Shizune, Sasuke, and much to their surprise, Rin Noara walking towards them. We already heard everything we need to know shortly before you left. Are you feeling better, Karen? Not much, the redhead replied. But I will do this if I have to. Don't worry, it's not near as bad as it may think. Look at Naruto, Shizune said, trying to ease the redhead with a smile. And Hokage-sama plans to give you a huge compensation for this. I doubt any compensation can make up for me becoming a Jinchuriki, but I'll make sure I enjoy it, Karen deadpanned. So, are you ready to go? Hokage-sama said that this mission was urgent and wanted us to leave immediately, Rin chimed in. Sakura and Karen looked at their fellow medic-nin a bit confused. Hokage-sama assigned Rin as backup for this mission, Shizune explained, before Sakura or Karen had a chance to answer. No offense to Rin, but how is an additional medic going to help without mission? Sakura asked. I have special abilities that will be helpful in case we face the 9 tails, Rin explained. You'll see what I mean when the moment comes, the brown-haired girl said enigmatically. Anyway, enough talking. As Hokage-sama said, this mission is an urgent one. I want you to meet me in the village's north gate in half an hour, understood? Shizune asked. Yes ma'am, the 4 other Konoha ninja obediently replied. Before they went they scattered. Less than an hour later, Shizen's medical squad was already on their way to the Land of Lightning. According to Jiraya, they were set to meet a squad of Kumogakure that had been dispatched to investigate the incident as well. Said squad was expecting Naruto Uzumaki to be among them, so things would get tense when they saw that it wasn't be the case. So, what do you think? Did Obito really got control of that second half of the Nine Tails, or it's just a trick of Kumo? I'm partial to the latter, Sakura said, before the others had time to answer. I did some research on Kumo, and the whole incident with Hinata wasn't the first time they tried to abduct one of our ninjas. Really? What did they try before? Sasuke asked. They managed to kidnap Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's mom, Sakura replied. Ah yes, Jiraiya-sama told us about that, Shizen stated. Everybody thought that there would be no way to get her back with the head start the kidnappers had, but Minato-sama managed to both track them and single-handedly defeated the kidnappers. Many believe that that was the beginning of their romance. Indeed, Sakura nodded. And as Naruto told us, his mother used to be the previous Jinchuriki before him, so it wouldn't be the first time they showed interest in the Nine Tails. It could also be because of her Uzumaki heritage, Rin piped in. This got Karen's attention. Elaborate please? Being an Uzumaki yourself, you know that your clan has some rather nifty perks, such as longevity, powerful chakra, and knack for Fuinjutsu, Rin explained. It's possible that besides the Kyubi, they also wanted Kushina-san to start their own branch of the Uzumaki clan in Kumo. Karen groaned in an exaggerated manner as she rolled her eyes. Great, so if they find out I'm an Uzumaki, they'll want to get my hands on me. Great, just great. This mission keeps getting better, the redhead deadpanned. Listen, nobody's going to get kidnapped on my watch, got it? Shizun energetically assured. Our team is pretty powerful, so if they want to hurt one of us, we'll put them through a world of pain. If you said so, Karen dejectedly replied, obviously unconvinced. You know, you should pray it's a trick from Kumo, given that the alternative is to fight an Akatsuki-controlled Kyubi that we will need to seal inside you, Sasuke pointed out. Don't remind me, Karen groaned. The Uchiha's expression then hardened as he continued talking. I'm personally hoping for the latter option. Of the Akatsuki, Obito's the only one who can control the tailed beasts, meaning that he will be there. With how much powerful I've become over the past years, I'm ready to settle the score. He will pay for the Uchiha insurrection and making me almost kill Naruto. Rin's face turned contrite the moment Sasuke mentioned her former teammate. No matter how many times he heard all the evil deeds Obito had done, she was unable to reconcile them with the memory of the energetic, nice and clumsy boy she used to know. Guys, if we end up facing Obito, Rin began, her voice quavering a little. Do you think there's a chance we might be able to turn him back to our side? A deafening silence followed her question. A knot formed into the brown-haired girl's stomach, made worse by the hateful glare Sasuke shot at her, before looking forward, and grunting. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked that, Rin regretfully said. It's natural that you did. Obito was your teammate and friend, and you hate to see what he has become, Shizun replied, her tone being that of understanding. However, Obito has committed multiple heinous crimes against Konoha and its inhabitants. We have proof that it was him the one responsible behind the Nine Tails attack 16 years ago that claimed the life of your sensei and his wife, as well as his participation on the Uchiha insurrection and aiding Orochimaru in the invasion of Konoha. Even if Obito truly repented, his crimes are too grave for them to atone. Many criminals have been executed for much less than that. I know this is not what you wanted to hear, but the sooner you accept this, the sooner you'll be able to move on, Shizun explained. It's okay, Rin forced herself to admit. Like I said, it was dumb of me to ask that. Obito might have brought me back to life, but he killed lots of other people as well. Are you sure you're ready for this? Sakura asked. There's a big chance that we might end up fighting him. If it's the case and you are not mentally prepared to face him again no. I'm fine. I can do this. Rin insisted, as her eyes glinted with determination. I need to do this. Are you sure? A skeptical Sasuke asked. Yes. When I came back, memories of my death stopped me from being a ninja. Then, I decided to face my fears and join the mission to Kirigakure, the very same village responsible of my demise. And after that I felt I was able to leave that behind. If I'm to leave the old Obito behind, I need to face what he has become. That's very brave of you, Rin, Sakura praised. As lovable as your intentions are, you should be careful. He didn't try anything during these past years, but seeing you in the open away from the village, he might try to abduct you and lock you up out of his fear of losing you again, Shizen advised. Don't worry, I'm aware of that, Rin replied, nodding. If what you say it's true, maybe we could use that to our advantage, Sasuke suggested. Sasuke-kun. I don't know what are you thinking, but we aren't going to do something that puts Rin in danger. Sakura angrily chastised her boyfriend. I didn't say anything about putting her in danger. But if his presence makes Obito lose focus, the Uchiha replied. Shouldn't we take advantage of that? We'll see when the time comes, Shizen said, putting an end to the discussion. Like Sakura said, we won't take any actions that endangers any of the members of this squad, got it? TCH, whatever, Sasuke growled, as he continued his travel forward. Moon, Tonari's palace, your tea, Pain-sama, Konan-sama, a pale black-haired child with creepy white eyes and an unreadable expression said as he placed the 2 cups on the small table between the two of them. The 2 Akatsuki were convinced that that kid wasn't human, or even alive to begin with. Though that wasn't relevant for them now. Pain and Konan did their best to ignore the extremely luxurious and finely decorated living room they were now in. Having known nothing but the pain of war and misery, it was rather irksome to see firsthand the opulent lifestyle other people were lucky enough to have. Even then, they had to keep their grievances to themselves for the time being. So, Tonari Otsutsuki, Pain began, ignoring the tea brought to him. While I can see that you have a lot to offer to our organization in terms of resources, I'd like to know better why are you interested in joining us. Your skepticism is reasonable, Pain-sama, Tonari said with a smile, taking a sip from his own cup of tea. But the answer is simple. We both want a better world, one that reflects the true wishes of the Sage of the 6 Paths. Isn't that enough? In theory, it should be. But experience taught me that the jump from theory to practice isn't as clean as we always expect, Pain replied. I'll be frank. Prior to Obito introducing you to us, we knew nothing about you. We didn't even know there were people living in the moon. And I will be eternally grateful to Obito for keeping my people's existence a secret until the time was right, Tonari said, still smiling. Though if you're still doubtful about my commitment and loyalty to your cause, feel free to test me as many times as you wish. You certainly have a helpful disposition. If it's genuine, that's it, Konan observed, as she drank from her cup of tea. And trust me, a test will come in the future. Now, while I could ask Obito, I want to hear it from you first, Pain continued. How did Obito know about you? An understandable question to have, Tonari said with a nod. But before I answer it, are you by any chance aware of a man named Madara? From the same clan as Obito, I think. Madara Uchiha. Yes. He was Obito's mentor. Though he no longer walks among the living, Konan answered. It was thanks to him that Obito learned everything about the Sage of the 6 Paths. And that Pain, as his reincarnation, inherited his eyes, and is the only one capable of bringing true peace to the world. In that case, that will save me some explaining to do. You see, Madara Uchiha came to our world many decades ago. I know this because my father told me, I wasn't born yet, Tonari pointed out. Anyway, we never knew how Madara learned about our existence and our task, but he thought that, since we had a common goal, we should join forces. My then still living grandfather rejected his offer, since he didn't trust people from the earth, even one that was a direct descendant of Hagoromo-sama. Even then, our family knew that this was an opportunity, and we made a deal with the Uchiha. If he could provide us with at least a pair of main family Otsutsuki Byakugan, he would consider his alliance offer, Tonari explained. Of course, my family had no intention to ally with him. We knew about the Uchiha and how prone they are to war and violence, the very things we wanted to eradicate. But it was a golden chance to acquire a Tenseigan. Not that it mattered, since that was the last time we heard of him. Our spies on Earth told us that he died fighting his former friend Hashirama Senju. To my knowledge, there is no Otsutsuki clan on Earth anymore, Pain noted. Not by that name, no. They're called Hyuga now, Tonari pointed out. Yet, when Obito came here with a pair of Byakugan, you agreed with the alliance, Pain guessed. Why did you decide to honor the promise your ascendants didn't? I have to admit, Obito's arguments left me defenseless, and I had no choice but to join forces with him. He proved to be a reliable benefactor, and an alliance with him and his organization was the most logical thing to do, Tonari explained. Even if it was Obito who brought you to us, Pain here is the leader of Akatsuki. Your loyalty should be to him and him alone, Conan interjected, as he glared at the white-haired man. Of course, Conan-sama. Obito made sure to explain me in detail the hierarchy of Akatsuki, Tonari replied, and he looked at Pain in the eyes, and smiled. I know exactly who I have to be loyal to. Good to hear that, Conan replied, but he didn't sound any more convinced. Besides, who should I follow other than the one who possessed the eyes of the Sage of the Six Paths? Tonari asked. And I have Himura-sama's eyes. And such as Himura-sama was loyal to his brother, I will follow your guidance, Pain-sama. Together, with the combined power of our eyes, we will cleanse this world of evil and corruption and create a paradise of peace and justice. Indeed, Pain nodded. However, even if I have his eyes, my current power is nothing but a fraction of the strength the Sage of the Six Paths possessed. That's why it's imperative to capture and gather all the tailed beasts as soon as possible. They're the fragments of my lost power. You can count on me for that, Pain-sama. While my eyes are still developing, once they mature, no Jinchuriki will be able to stand before my might, Tonari assured. But if such weight is unacceptable, I can hunt them whenever you command them. However, I should tell you that, in exchange of my power and vast resources, I have a request. A request, Pain repeated. And what that would be? There's a girl from Konoha, a Hyuga, who has the same eyes as I have. I want that girl, Tonari said. I'm not asking you to capture her for me, but if by any chance you or your minions encounter her, please try not to kill her. I have no use for her dead. I won't promise anything. Akatsuki does not show mercy to those who oppose us. But I will keep your words in mind, Pain said. Still, if you worry so much about her, you should try to take her on your own, Conan interceded. That's it, as long as we don't assign you any task to carry out. I would never think to do such a thing, Conan-sama, Tonari said, smiling at her. Conan didn't smile back. Land of Lightning. A week later, after a week of traveling and crossing both the Land of Hot Springs and the Land of Frost, the medical squad finally arrived at the Land of Lightning's southern and only border. It didn't take long to see both the ruins of what it used to be a rural village, and the remnants of a destroyed outpost. All right, here we are, Shizen said, as the five of them set foot on potentially hostile territory. Karen? The redhead nodded, closed her eyes and made a hand seal. No one around save for 4 people in the destroyed outpost. All 4 of them ninjas with powerful chakra. One being specially strong even among them. That must be Kyumo's group. Okay, let's get this over with, Shizen said, as she rushed towards the outpost, the other 5 Konoha ninja following behind her. It seemed that the Kyumo ninjas had either seen or sensed them coming, given that they left the outpost and went to meet the Konoha ninjas in the open. They stopped once they were a few meters apart. All of them took some moments to study the 4 Kyumo ninjas in front of them. The one everybody guessed was the leader was a fairly tall man with dark skin and shaggy blonde hair that covered one of his eyes. He was carrying a large sword on his back. Shizun recognized this man as Darui, one of Kumo's strongest ninjas. Next to him was a white-skinned blonde woman with her hair tied on a ponytail. Unlike her partners, she wasn't wearing the typical Kumogakure uniform, but a black and purple short-sleeved shirt and black pants. Again, Shizun was able to identify this woman as Yujito Ni, the Jinchuriki of the two tails. Fake or not, the situation must be dire if the Raikage dispatched two of his heavyweights, Shizun thought. If a fight breaks out, this too might become a problem. Shizun didn't know who were the other two. Another white-skinned woman with blonde hair, a stoic and calm appearance, and a comically large bust. Shizun couldn't tell if Tsunade's was bigger or not, and a younger man, also white and blonde, sporting a confident smirk. "Welcome, Konoha ninjas," Darui greeted them in a polite tone. "My name's Darui. This one's Yujito Ni, and those two are Samui and Atsui. Greetings. My name is Shizun Uchiha. These are Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Karen Uzumaki and Rin Noera," Shizun said, introducing her team in return. "You took your sweet time to arrive," Yujito pointed out. "We came as fast as we could." "Konoha isn't exactly close to the land of lightning," Sasuke snapped. "We requested the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails to be among you, yet I don't see him," Darui pointed out in a mildly accusatory manner. "Do you care to explain why? Do you really think we're going to bring our Jinchuriki, who's also the Hokage's son, to a country that's not an ally of our village?" Shizun replied with a question of her own. "Then how can we discern if Konoha was behind this attack?" Yujito said, before waving at the destroyed village with her hand. "That village used to house 2,000 people. Less than 100 survived. All of them claim it was the Nine Tails who did it. And as far as we know, the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails is a Konoha ninja. We can assure you that, by the time you said the attack happened, Naruto was away on a mission," Sakura interceded. "In Takigakure, to be precise. You can ask them if you don't believe us. Hundreds of both Konoha and Taki ninja can confirm his alibi." "We will, but that might not be enough for Raikage-sama," Darui pointed out. "Sorry for being this insistent, but a tailed beast attack is something that can't be taken lightly. Can we go to the attack town? That way we'll be able to see the extent of the attack, and determine if it was the Nine Tails or not," Shizun pointed out. "We already inspected the village, hot stuff," Atsui interceded. "And we reached the conclusion that yes, it was a goddamn tailed beast, the one who did it." "A second opinion won't hurt," Sakura pointed out. Darui sighed as he shook his head. "Okay then, whatever. It's not like we're making any progress here." "So drab," the dark-skinned man complained, as he extended a hand towards the village, motioning the Konoha ninjas to go. They nodded, and the two groups headed to the ruined village. Upon entering, Shizun had a flashback of the time she and Tsunade returned to Konoha after the Nine Tails attack. And while the destruction and death caused by the beast have been horrifying, they arrived 2 weeks after the attack, and much of the damage was in the process of being repaired. It wasn't the case with this village. This is how Konoha could have ended that day if it wasn't for the fourth Hokage. And much to her discomfort, the level of destruction was similar to that of Konoha after that fateful day. "What are we doing here?" Samui asked, interrupting the Konoha ninja inspecting the ruined village. She crossed her arms over her rather large chest. "We do know for a fact it was the Nine Tails who did it. Can you please stop this charade already? Hey, should we remind you that Kumo doesn't have the cleanest record when it comes to Konoha?" Karen snapped. "We still remember the time you kidnapped Hinata Hyuga and Kushina Uzumaki several decades before." Shizun, Sakura and Rin cringed upon hearing the blunt way Karen threw Kumo's dirty laundry back at them. Things were getting ugly, and fast. Darui sighed, and took a step forward. "Listen, sorry if we're putting you in a tight spot," but this needs to be done. As you can see, somebody destroyed a village of the Land of Lightning and an outpost of Kumo. All witnesses say it was the Nine Tails. We just want justice for our victims. Yes, and the Nine Tails Jinchuriki is a Konoha ninja, Atsui pointed out. Unless there's a second Nine Tails running around. Actually, there is, Sasuke bluntly stated. Say what? Atsui asked. A second Nine Tails. Yeah. Do you think we were born yesterday? Yujito asked, sounding upset. The power of the tailed beasts is something that can't be replicated. Much less the most powerful of them. No, but their power can be split, Shizun pointed out. The jutsu to do it is a forbidden one but Shizun-sensei. Karen called, sounding panicky. Before Shizun or her other teammates could ask what happened, she continued. Obito Uchiha is here. Sasuke's eyes grew wide open, as his hand instinctively gripped the pommel of his katana. Are you sure? Yes. I'd never forget a chakra like his. Karen insisted. And he isn't alone. He brought somebody else with him. Somebody whose chakra level is downright absurd. Hey, cool off over there. Samui interrupted. What are you talking about? Akatsuki, was Shizun's only reply, which was enough to make the 4 Kumo ninjas to tense up. And she's right, a new male voice said from above. Everybody turned around from direction of the voice, and saw Obito Uchiha, standing over the roof of a half-collapsed building. This was a trap from the very beginning. Darui said in realization, as his visible eye moved towards Yujito. Exactly. I was hoping that Naruto would be here as well, but I guess I'll have to settle for just one, Obito said, fixing his eyes on Yujito as well, before they moved towards Rin, and smiled. Though it's very helpful of you Konoha bringing Rin back to me. Obito, the distraught brunette said in a whisper. Rin isn't your property, you sick fuck. Karen yelled. Listen, Obito is a Konoha missing nin, so we'll take care of him, Shizun told the Kumo ninjas. Yujito is his target. Take her somewhere safe while we keep him busy. Darui nodded, as he motioned his comrades to move out. However, shortly after they started to run, they were cut by a massive torrent of water bursting from underground. A lone figure emerged from the water, a blue-skinned man in Akatsuki regalia, holding a large sword. Now, you aren't planning to leave so soon, right? Kisame said, giving the Kumo ninjas a menacing grin. Not before you play a little with me, that's it. Darui, Samui, and Atsui unsheathed their swords. Yujito merely adopted a fighting stance. So, that was Akatsuki's plan. They didn't just want to lure out Naruto, but one of Kumo's Jinchuriki as well, Shizun thought in realization. Still, the odds aren't too bad. Obito and Kisame are powerful, but we do have power on our side as well, not to mention advantage in numbers and a copious amount of medic nin. Watch out for Kisame. Don't use ninjutsu against him, his sword can absorb it. Shizun warned the Kumo ninjas. We'll take care of Obito. We fought against him before, and know all of his tricks. Thanks for the tip, hot stuff, Atsui said, taking a step forward. You know, I always wanted to go against one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. We will prove today that Kumo ninjas are the better sword fighters. Kisame chuckled, and rested Samahata on his shoulder. Aren't you biting way more than you can chew, brat? But I accept your challenge. Come here, and see if you can prove your point. Samui placed a firm hand on Atsui's shoulder. Cool down, Atsui, he's right. Kisame Hoshigaki is one of the deadliest swordsmen alive. Only by working together we'll be able to take him down. Way to ruin my fun, sis. But whatever, the younger Kumo ninja said with a sigh. Don't do anything rash. Let's follow Darui-san's lead, Samui suggested. Alright, I'll take Kisame head on. You two stay back and protect Yujito. Feel free to assist me if I'm overwhelmed, but keeping Yujito safe is the top priority. Yes sir, both siblings said at once. Wait a minute, I can fight you know. I'm no damsel in distress. Yujito protested. Nobody says that you are, Yujito. Sorry, but Akatsuki is targeting you specifically, and it's our job to make theirs as hard as possible, Darui stated. Meanwhile, the Konoha ninjas were doing similar plans to take down Obito. That bastard is mine, so don't get in the way, Sasuke said as he unsheathed his shoto. Sakura, your combat specialty is melee, so you would be better against Kisame. Against Kisame? Sakura repeated, her voice quivering a bit, as she eyed the scary-looking blue swordsman. Are you sure, Sasuke-kun? I know you can do it. Plus you won't be fighting alone. While I don't trust them that much, I doubt those Kyumo guys will turn on us on a situation like this, Sasuke told his girlfriend. Sakura gathered all the courage she could muster, and nodded. Alright then, I'll face Kisame. Stay safe. Same goes for you, Sakura, Rin replied. Obito smirked, as he drew out his own katana. So, shall we begin? Sasuke replied to Obito's taunt by leaping at him at the same time he delivered an horizontal slash to the Akatsuki's throat, which unfortunately, phased through him. Just after Sasuke phased through Obito, he kicked the young Uchiha in the back. Poison missed. While Sasuke attacked, Shizune followed him and leaped above the rogue Uchiha. Her cheeks puffed, before releasing a cloud of the familiar purple gas engulfed him. Sasuke, meanwhile, made several hand seals. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke exhaled a massive fireball towards the cloud of poisonous gas, igniting it, resulting in a fiery explosion that destroyed the half-collapsed building completely. He teleported away. Shizune warned. Even if it was just a guess, it was a probable one. There's no way he let that combination touch him. Stay alert. Karen. Sasuke called. On it, the redhead nodded, as she closed her eyes and made a hand seal. She focused on finding Obito's chakra, which was nowhere to be seen, figuratively speaking. After a few seconds, it appeared. However, Karen paled upon realizing where Obito planned to show up. Oh shit Karen, down. Sasuke shouted. Karen threw herself at the ground on instinct, as she barely avoided Obito's thrust from behind. She heard the whirring noise of a few shuriken flying above her, coming from the opposite direction. However, the steel stars failed to touch the Akatsuki. She got up, and quickly rushed back to her teammates. Give up. You can't defeat me, Obito said, spread his arms in a taunting manner. Did you forget your fight against Tsunade-sama and myself during the Uchiha insurrection? Shizune snapped back. You don't have any Sannin backing you up this time. Plus I was careless and made plenty of rookie mistakes. Mistakes I'm not planning to repeat here, Obito said, as he scowled. This operation is too important for Amaterasu. For a split second, Obito was engulfed by a blaze of black flames, before they were sucked by a spiraling vortex. Sasuke shivered from reliving the time he thought he had killed Naruto. He cursed upon seeing that he made himself relive such traumatic memory for nothing. See? That's what I meant. You guys got me monologuing, and got wide open. Thank goodness my reflexes are much better than they used to be, Obito said, smirking. Then he looked at Sasuke, and his smirk widened. Trouble using the Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke? Still having flashbacks to the moment you awaken it? Still? What do you mean, still? Sasuke angrily asked. Is there a way to overcome it? You don't know? Obito said, before rearing his head back, and let out a mocking laughter. Your brother or cousin didn't tell you it's possible? Of course they wouldn't. They wouldn't tell you something out of fear of corrupting you. How it is? Tell me. Sasuke demanded. You expect your enemy to help you? Really? Obito asked, arching an eyebrow. Then, he smirked. Oh well, I'll tell you because your reaction will be priceless. The key to stop the Mangekyo Sharingan from making you relieve the moment it was activated is to stop fighting it, and accept it. What? A dumbfounded Sasuke asked. It's exactly like I say. I remember reliving Rin's death every time I used my power. Which was a lot of time, because as you can see it's so useful. But it took such a toll on my sanity. It was then, when I realized the truth. Painful as it was, Rin needed to die, Obito stated in an odd solemn tone. What? Rin asked in disbelief. If my death was necessary, then why you went through the trouble of reviving me? I said your death was necessary, not you had to remain dead, the Akatsuki punctualized. When I saw you jumping in the way of Kakashi's Chidori, my eyes were opened. I realized the cruelty of the world we live in. How bad things happen to good people like you and me. And how in order to change the world, drastic measures are to be taken. Only when I accepted those facts and stopped feeling regret for not being able to save her did the flashback cease. That's exactly what you have to do, Sasuke. You're afraid that next time Naruto, or somebody else, a friend, a loved one, might die for real. You need to detach yourself from those feelings, accept the power you now possess. And become a psychopath like you? No thank you. Sasuke replied. There has to be another way to stop the flashbacks. And if there isn't one I will live with it then. You say that now, but after circumstances force you to rely on the Mangekyo more and more, you'll make anything in order to make the nightmares stop, Obito said with a cruel smirk. I knew that you weren't going to follow my advice, that's why I decided to share it with you. But ask yourself this, why do you think people said our clan are cursed by hatred? This is why. No power comes without cost. At least, not for the Uchiha. After that last monologue, Obito resumed the fight against the Konoha ninjas. At the same time that fight happened, Sakura rushed towards Darui, engaged in a sword-fighting duel with Kisame, at the top of a mass of water the Akatsuki had generated earlier, while Samui and Atsui stood protectively at Yujido's flanks. Sakura pulled out a sealing scroll, unfurled it, and unsealed some of its contents, a pair of brass knuckles made of chakra-conducting metal, with Fuinjutsu seals carved into it. Sakura immediately grabbed both weapons, and channeled chakra through them. Two huge fists made of pure chakra appeared around them. Alright, it's punching time. Sakura said, as she leaped at Kisame from the side. However, even if he wasn't a sensor, thanks to his vast experience, Kisame's battle sense was sharp enough to notice when an enemy was about to ambush him. He quickly disengaged Darui and jumped backwards a second before Sakura's fist could touch him. Shinaro. Even if she hit thin air, her punch carried so much force, it projected a shockwave that completely blasted a half-destroyed house into tiny pebbles. Damn, failed by this much, Sakura complained, before she looked at the surprised Darui. Sorry for coming uninvited, but I thought you might appreciate the help. I certainly do, but I thought that you'd prefer to help your comrades, the dark-skinned man assumed. My fighting style focuses mostly on punches, which makes me better suited to deal with an opponent that can absorb ninjutsu, Sakura pointed out. Hard to argue with that logic. Shall we continue? Darui said, smiling a little. It will be a pleasure, Sakura said, as she directed her eyes towards Kisame, and smirked. Two fists of chakra appeared around her real ones, and dashed again. You think that just because you're a melee specialist you're suited to fight against me? Your overconfidence is insulting. Kisame said, as he dashed forward to meet Sakura, with Samahata ready to strike. As the Akatsuki and Konoha Kunoichi met in the middle, Kisame delivered a diagonal blow. However, much to his surprise, Sakura aborted her attack, and fell on her knees, sliding through the watery surface past Kisame, and avoiding Samahata's swing. What? The Akatsuki shouted. You're wide open. Sorry pal, but this is your end. Darui said, as he was leaping towards the indeed wide-open Kisame, his cleaver crackling with electricity. However, from the water, a clone of Kisame formed just in time to stop the Kumo ninja's blow. The clone was sturdy enough to resist the attack. As long as I have water, I'm never wide open, Kisame boasted, before making a hand seal. 3 more clones emerged from the water. Make sure the Jinchuriki doesn't use the fray of the battle as a cover to escape. The 3 clones nodded, jumped from the water, and landed at different points surrounding the 3 other Kumo ninjas. God damn it, why didn't we think about escaping before? Atsui said in frustration. And leave Darui here on his own? Yujito pointed out. Come on, what are we doing? If we fight all of us together, we can defeat these guys. Cool down, Yujito. Darui ordered us not to interfere until he was in trouble. And so far, he and the Konoha Kunoichi are doing pretty good, Samui pointed out. Meanwhile, the rest of the Konoha ninjas continued battling Obito. The rogue Akatsuki's hands flew through hand seals as a spiraling vortex formed around his right eye. Fire release, blast wave wild dance. Obito released a stream of fire that the vortex shaped in the form of a spiral, expanding outwards wide enough to engulf all the Konoha ninja. Rin, however, took a step forward and formed several hand seals of her own in order to counter that attack. Water release, water wall. Rin's cheeks puffed, before expelling a large amount of water, forming a torrent that put out the incoming flames, generating some clouds of smoke when the 2 elemental attacks clashed. You truly grew strong, Rin. Your water jutsu never had such a scale, Obito said in amazement. Sasuke appeared behind Obito, no doubt after using the body flicker, and delivered an horizontal slash to his back. Much to his frustration, the blade once again failed to hit him. You never learn, don't you, RH? Obito hissed, as he instinctively clutched his midsection. Wait, did I hurt him? Sasuke wondered, before something his Sharingan had noticed sunk in. I swear I saw a flicker of black flames there. Obito turned around, counter-attacking with his own katana as well. The 2 Uchihas engaged in a short duel of sword fighting, until another vortex formed around Obito's right Sharingan. Take this. Burn and disappear. Much to his shock, the vortex expelled in a stream the very same Amaterasu flames that he had absorbed before. Sasuke jumped around, dodging the deadly stream of fire, until Obito had no more. After that, Sasuke rejoined his teammates. I was right, it was Amaterasu, Sasuke deduced. When he used his intangibility, the Amaterasu he had absorbed hurt him. Which means that his ability to turn intangible and store and release objects through vortex might be linked. Hell, they might be one and the same. His teleportation as well. But in order to so, I need to do one last test. As Sasuke mused about his new findings, Obito prepared to counterattack. Would release, nativity of a world of trees. The ground below them started to rumble, as multiple green wooden vines emerged around Obito, and launched themselves at the Konoha ninjas. Rin and Karen prepared to repel the attack, the 2 of them weaving the same sequence of hand seals. Earth release, crushing avalanche. Multiple rocks of varying sizes, albeit the ones summoned by Rin were bigger, appeared above the incoming vines, before falling down and crushing most of them, as the name of the jutsu implied. Even if they didn't stop the attack, they were able to slow it down considerably. And Shizun was going to take advantage of such opportunity. Corrosive cloud. The leader of the medical squad released another cloud of poisonous purple gas from her mouth, this one having a darker shade than the attack she used before. The moment the gas entered in contact with the vines, the latter started to wither and crumble in a matter of seconds, much to Obito's surprise and anger. Do you like my new poison? I prepared it specifically for you. No amount of regeneration will save you from it, Shizun taunted. I see you didn't spend these past years lazing around. But for your poison to work you still have to hit me with it. And tricking me with a clone won't work this time, I can assure you that, Obito replied, unable to hide his anger. The cloud of corrosive gas ate through the vines as it advanced. Seeing no other option, Obito teleported away. His chakra signature disappeared. Karen warned the others. Okay. Stay alert and warn us when he shows up again, Shizun told Karen. I think I know how his power works, and how we can bypass his intangibility, Sasuke said, taking advantage of Obito's temporary absence so he couldn't hear his plans. Really? That's great. Karen beamed. We used to think that his intangibility, store and release objects from a pocket dimension and teleporting were different abilities, but they might be just one. We can take that to our advantage. However, in order to do so, I need Rin to do something, Sasuke said, looking at the brown-haired medic Nin. I need you to let Obito capture you with his ability. What? Rin replied in shock. That's not great. Karen protested. Sasuke-kun. What did we say about putting Rin in danger? Shizun scolded him. I know, but no one here can do it. I know I'm asking a lot, but I need you to trust me on this. If this works, we will deprive Obito of one of his biggest advantages, Sasuke argued. And if it doesn't work? Rin asked. I don't know. But it's possible that we won't be able to get you back, Sasuke bluntly stated. I'm not going to force you. The decision is yours. Obito is back. There. Karen pointed to the opposite direction Obito was standing, and indeed, a vortex was starting to form. Time's up. Like I said, your choice, Sasuke said, as he adopted a fighting stance. It seems that Rin made up her mind, as she drew out 2 kunai, and charged at Obito, letting out a high-pitched yell. Come on Obito, leave them alone. This is between you and me. Rin shouted, as she prepared to attack. Rin leaped at him, ready to slash the rogue Uchiha. Obito didn't make any attempt to defend himself, and used his intangibility to make Rin phase through him. Fast as lightning, he turned around and grabbed Rin by one of her wrists. Don't worry, I'll send you somewhere safe, Obito said, as a vortex appeared around his right eye, absorbing Rin. No! Rin yelled as she was sucked into another dimension. Obito turned at the rest of the Konoha ninjas, and smirked. Like I said before, thank you so much for bringing Rin back to me. Now I can finally fight without distraction. Attack from range, or we might end up like Rin. Sasuke said, as he pulled out a rather large Fuma shuriken and tossed it at Obito. Karen. The redhead nodded, and made several hand seals. Shadow Clone Shuriken Jutsu. Multiple Fuma shuriken appeared along the original, flying towards Obito, who once again made no effort to dodge, and let the giant steel stars phase through him. He was about to taunt them once again, but suddenly, he felt the pain of sharp metal stabbing into his flesh. A trickle of blood came from his mouth, as he instinctively clutched his stomach. What? A bewildered Obito screamed, before he felt another stab. Arg! It worked, we hurt him. Karen cheered, pumping her fists. We didn't hurt him, Sasuke said, smirking at Obito. Rin did. Rin? No it can, Obito replied, as he vanished into his own spiraling vortex. Obito's pocket dimension. Turns out, Sasuke was right. Obito didn't so much turn intangible, but somehow could phase parts of his body to another dimension. And as Sasuke expected, said parts were vulnerable in the other side. The moment Rin saw most of Obito's body appear before her, she drew out a kunai and stabbed it into his chest, then a second one for good measure, before he returned his body back to the real world. A vortex appeared before her, meaning that Obito, the whole Obito was coming. She drew another kunai, and breathed out, trying to calm down. She only had one chance to carry out what she wanted to do, and no room for mistake. Rin. Are you Dash? The moment her former teammate appeared, Rin tossed the kunai at him, aiming for his face. Obito managed to catch it thanks to his reflexes befitting an Uchiha. Just like Rin expected. I see that you have no dash. Once again, the Akatsuki was interrupted, this time by the kunai transforming into another Rin, with another kunai in her left hand. As fast as she could, Rin stabbed the kunai into the edge of Obito's right eye, while using her right hand to pluck said eye from its socket. Obito let out a deafening scream as both he and Rin were sucked back into reality. Shizune, Sasuke and Karen saw Obito and Rin appearing once again, falling into ground, with Obito screaming as he held his bloodied empty eye socket, and Rin carefully held something in her hand. Rin! Shizune said, as she rushed towards her. Are you okay? Yeah. A bit shaken, but okay, Rin replied. Shun then smiled at Shizune. Tell your husband I got his missing eye back. Shizune's eyes widened as Rin opened her hand, and saw a bloody Sharingan on it. Wasting no time, Tsunade's first apprentice took the eye and quickly sealed it inside a scroll, which she hid under the folds of her kimono. She smiled back at Rin. Thank you, Rin. I'm sure Shisui will be very happy, a smiling Shizune told her. I could have gotten the other eye, but I think that depriving him of his ability to mind control people was better than the intangibility and teleportation, Rin replied, justifying the unsaid question. It's okay, Rin. You did the right choice. Besides, had you gouged the other eye, you would have no means to return, Sasuke reassured her. He then turned back at Obito, who was fuming. But I think you made him quite mad. And indeed, Obito was starting at the Konoha ninja, more specifically Rin, with a hateful frown and his teeth clenched in an angry snarl. I can't believe your betrayal, Rin. I brought you back to life. Is this your way of thanking me? Obito angrily asked. You were the one who betrayed me first, by turning on our village and murdering Sensei. Rin shouted back. Very well then, no more holding back. Obito took a drop of blood from his empty eye socket, and made several 5 seals. If this is how things are going to be, then you and your new friends can die the same way Sensei did. Summoning Jutsu. Obito slammed his hand into the ground, producing an explosion of smoke. However, the burst of smoke was much more powerful than with most summons, creating a cloud big enough to cover most of the village, with gale force winds blowing in every direction. The smoke quickly dispelled, revealing the creature Obito had summoned, a giant fox with dark red fur, and 9 tails. All the Konoha ninja could do was stare in awe and terror at the other half of the beast that once almost destroyed Konoha a decade and a half ago. Fire release, mouse hairball. Yujito expelled several blue fireballs from her mouth, which quickly took the shape of fiery mice, as they flew towards one of the Kisame clones surrounding her and her partners. The Kisame clone merely smirked, and swung his Samahata in order to block all the incoming projectiles, resulting in a series of explosions. But when the smoke receded, the Kisame clone was any worse for the wear. The hell? You're a clone, your sword isn't supposed to work just as good as the original. Yujito snarled. I wouldn't be a very good clone if that was the case, don't you think so? The Kisame clone replied with a taunting smirk, before he dashed to strike the Jinchuriki. Okay then, if I can't use ninjutsu directly against this guy, I'll use it in a more indirect manner. Yujito thought, dashing forward as well, making several hand seals. Jinchuriki and Akatsuki met in the middle, with Kisame pretending to deliver a swing, before placing the sword between himself and Yujito as if it was a shield, just when the Jinchuriki was ready to attack. Fire release, Great Dragon Fire. Do you think you can catch me off guard with such an amateurish trick? Disappointing, Kisame said, fixing a stare of contempt on the Kyumo Kunoichi. However, much to his surprise, the stream of fire coming from Yujito's mouth wasn't aimed at him, but at the ground, propelling herself into the air. Spinning her body, she placed herself just above Kisame, before letting gravity pull her down. She extended her arms downwards as her fingernails elongated into claws. However, Kisame was quick to react to the strategy, and managed to parry the blow coming from above. He smirked at the Jinchuriki, her claws now stuck inside Samehada. This is way to EAS dash, but the clone was silenced by another Yujito, who impaled him from the front with her elongated claws. The effect of the blow was instant, and the clone dissolved into a puddle of water. Fire clones. They never expect them, Yujito said, shaking her head, before she noticed Samui and Atsui still struggling against the other two clones. I think we should help those two, the clone pointed out. You took the words from my mouth, the original replied as she and the clone dashed towards Samui and Atsui. The Kisame clones didn't realize that Yujito and her clone were going towards them, and saw too late the cross-slash aiming at them. The eviscerated Akatsuki clones dissolved in yet another two puddles of water. Thank you, Yujito, Samui told her teammate. These were way more powerful than the average clone. Yeah, I don't know how Darui-sama and that Konoha girl are holding so well against the original, Atsui added. Because they aren't his target, and isn't fighting at full power. But when he does, they will be in trouble. Come on, we need to help them, Yujito insisted. But Darui-sama said dash, Atsui tried to protest. I know what Darui said, damn it. Yujito snapped. But we need to help him before dash, summoning jutsu. Yujito froze, as a sense of overwhelming dread washed over her body. She could feel the tailed beast inside her shaking with a swirl of emotions. Turning around, she saw a massive cloud of smoke forming where the Konoha ninja were fighting that other Akatsuki, followed by a powerful wind that threatened to blow her away. And then, the smoke cleared, and he appeared. Time seemed to stand still as every Konoha and Kyumo ninja stared at the giant nine-tailed fox that had appeared in the ruined village. Their looks were either of terror, bewilderment, or shock. Or all three, in Atsui's case. The nine tails, Samui said in awe. Guess that solves one mystery, Yujito dryly remarked, as she started to walk towards the beast. Turn out those Konoha brats weren't lying when they said that there was a second nine tails running around. Hey. Where are you going? Atsui told his partner. Where do you think, dumbass? I'm the only one who can deal with that monster. As Yujito said this, orange chakra started to burst around her body, forming an aura around it. Now I want you to stay away from us. I can't fight and take care of you two, and I'd never forgive myself if you two got killed because of me. You can count on us, Yujito, Samui replied. The two tails Jinchuriki nodded in return, as she rushed towards the other tailed beast. Speaking of said tailed beast, Obito was standing on its head, smirking down at the Konoha ninjas below him. The girls looked terrified, while Sasuke was shooting him an angry glare, as he gripped the pommel of his katana. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea how this is possible, since last time I checked, the blonde brat still has the nine tails inside of him, Obito admitted, shrugging a little. But hey, I'm not going to complain about something that benefits me. Now, nine tails, crush them. The demon fox let out a deafening roar before raising his right paw. The Konoha ninjas snapped out of their terror and shock in time to avoid the paw coming down at them, creating a large crater and destroying several already ruined houses in a large area. Sasuke, it all depends on you. Use your Mangekyo Sharingan to tame the beast. Shizune urged. Sasuke nodded, doing his best to push back the memory of Naruto being impaled that was being forced into his brain. Sasuke's Sharingan changed into their advanced form, and locked eyes with the giant fox. However, when he tried to force his will upon the creature, another force repelled it back. Arg! Sasuke grunted, as he winced, grabbing his head. I can't. Of course you can't. Obito laughed. As long as the nine tails is under my control, he's shielded from outside influences. In that case, we'll need to take care of Obito first, Sasuke stated. Easier said than done. That will be hard to do with that monster trying to kill us, a panicked Karen pointed out. I think this is my cue to play my ace in the hole, Rin interjected, making several hand seals, as she took a couple of steps forward. Wood release, great forest emergence. Suddenly, the earth started to shake, and green thick wooden vines emerged all around the nine tails, wrapping themselves around his legs, tails and neck, immobilizing it. The effort of restraining such a large beast soon made itself evident in Rin, who winced and started to sweat heavily. Sasuke and Karen stared at Rin in awe. Wait, what? The redhead asked. You can use wood release? How? Why? We can talk about that later. Come on, now is your chance. Rin urged the others. Shizun nodded, and she launched herself at Obito. The Akatsuki, however, jumped off the fox's head before Shizun could catch him. He then pulled out a Fuma shuriken. The steel star burst into flames before he tossed it against the nine tails, and made a hand seal. Fire release, shadow clone shuriken jutsu. Multiple flaming shuriken appeared near the first one, all of them flying towards the tailed beast. Many of them embedded themselves into the vines restraining him, while others stabbed into the fox's flesh, not that Obito cared. Now's my chance, Sasuke said, as he made several hand seals. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Sasuke exhaled a fireball which flew towards Obito with flawless accuracy. The Akatsuki, however, turned intangible, and the fireball phased through him. More fireballs were shot, the effect was the same, and they disappeared into the sky. You might caught me off guard back then. But as long as I don't send anybody to my pocket dimension, my abilities should be safe to use, Obito confidently stated. Rin gathered her chakra as she tried to repair the damage Obito had done to her vines, but it was too late, and after several snapping sounds, the tailed beast managed to break free. His eyes, morphed into Sharingans, shot a hateful glare at Rin, and moved to attack. But before he could do anything, he was rammed by another being of the same size. The clash of giants produced a shockwave that knocked all those nearby back. What the? A confused Rin asked as she fell on her butt. Both she and her Konoha companion saw a giant cat, made of what appeared to be blue and black flames. Her eyes were of different color, one green and another yellow. Two tails lashed at the end of her body. Yujito, Shizun said aloud, albeit mostly to herself. Hokage-sama said she had full control of her tailed beast, but seeing it with my own eyes, stay away from us. Yujito's voice boomed from the giant two-tailed cat, as she wrestled the nine tails. Even if you want to help me, don't. I don't want to put you in danger. Ah, there it is, the longed prey. I knew that I did good in bringing my nine tails here, Yujito, Obito said, as he started to teleport away. Your tailed beast will be mine. Meanwhile, not far away from there, Darui and Sakura continued fighting Kisame. Even if the fight was going well, the two of them had the impression that the former Kiri ninja wasn't giving his all and was just merely toying with them, if his careless attitude was any indication. Hey, sorry for not believing you at first when you guys told us about a second nine tails, Darui said, as his cleaver clashed against Samahata. For all that it's worth. Save the apologies for when we have one. Sakura replied, trying to capitalize on Kisame being focused on Darui to land a punch, but the blue-skinned swordsman skillfully avoided it. You're adorable, thinking you have a chance to win. When it was the boy and I, maybe you had a tiny little chance, but with that monster on our side, Kisame laughed. We have our own Jinchuriki to stop it. Darui countered, as he delivered a swing the shark ninja avoided. Kisame chuckled once again. Tell me, brat, don't you think that's exactly what we wanted? Kyumo is fiercely protective of their Jinchuriki, but we knew you'd deploy at least one of them if an attack by another tailed beast was involved. We were planning for this. And you fell right into our trap. Soon you're going to see that plans don't always go as intended, especially one so dull as yours, Darui replied, as he reared his cleaver sword backwards. The wide blade started to crackle with electricity, as the Kyumo ninja dashed forward. Kisame received the onslaught with a smirk, as he expertly parried all of Darui's blows. With each blow of his cleaver, lightning bolts were released in every direction, but sadly those aimed at Kisame were absorbed by his bandaged sword, much to his chagrin. Not only that sword can absorb ninjutsu, but even when it's used in an indirect way, like being channeled through a sword, Darui noted, deciding it would be for the better a change of strategy. My turn then, Kisame's toothy grin expanded, as he raised his sword above his head. Thousands of droplets of water started to gather around Samahata from the air's moisture, forming a liquid mass around the weapon. Water release, tsunami sword. Slamming his sword into the ground, the water gathered by Samahata was released in the form of a brutal and massive torrent, that in no time flooded the entire village, including the zone where the two-tailed beasts were fighting. Darui and Sakura used the rubble and half-destroyed buildings as footing to jump above the incoming wave, before they landed on the water's surface with a splash. As they did, they noticed that Kisame was leaping at them, Samahata raised above his head. Darui was about to hold his own in a defensive position to parry the blow, but Sakura beat him to the punch by jumping and, well, throwing a punch at the incoming Samahata. The resulting impact caused a powerful shockwave that pushed both ninjas back several meters. The power behind his water jutsu is unreal. My skills look pretty dull in comparison, Darui thought, as his brain tried to come up with a proper strategy, before he noticed Samahata. I wonder how much power comes from him and how much from that sword. Regardless of the answer, taking that sword of the picture will improve our chances. You look thoughtful. Desperate to look for a way to beat my unstoppable power? Kisame taunted. Don't bother. Even the most cunning strategies are useless in the face of the overwhelming strength of a tsunami. Don't be so cocky. I haven't shown you yet my best moves, Darui said, as he sheathed his cleaver while starting making hand seals. He leaned toward Sakura. I'm going to attack now. Try to land a punch the moment you see an opening. Sakura nodded. Got it. More ninjutsu? I thought that you'd know it's useless by now, Kisame mocked. But hey, I'm not going to interrupt an enemy when he's making a mistake. Storm release, laser circus. Darui brought his hands forward, both indexes and middle fingers aiming at Kisame. A blue light orb formed around them, before it exploded in a multitude of beams of the same color that flew at the shark ninja. Kisame merely smirked, and placed Samahata between himself and the incoming attack for protection. So, you have a bloodline limit. Not that it's going to help dash. Suddenly, much to Kisame's shock, the beams changed their trajectory just before they were going to crash against Samahata, arching around it and Kisame, before blasting the Akatsuki's back. Erg. I think that's my cue. Sakura said, as she launched herself towards Kisame. She reared a fist back, which started to swirl with chakra, taking the form of an even larger fist surrounding it. Shinaro. However, Kisame wasn't as defenseless as she thought. The shark ninja managed to jump backwards as he made several hand seals. Water release, water shark bullet jutsu. A gigantic shark made of water formed between Sakura and Kisame, opening its jaws to crunch the charging pinkette. However, Sakura's incoming punch packed so much power it shattered the elemental animal into tiny droplets, and still had enough momentum to keep forward. But the jutsu made its job, and softened Sakura's blow enough for Kisame to safely parry it with Samahata, even if it pushed him backwards a few meters. Not bad, definitely not bad, Kisame complimented, once he came to a stop. But sadly not good enough to beat somebody of my level. With a swift motion of his sword, Samahata split Sakura in two before she dissolved into water. The hell? Where did she dash? Kisame barely had time to react as Sakura burst underwater below him, her chakra-enhanced fist aimed for his chin. If Kisame didn't move, that punch alone would have separated his head from the rest of his body. But even if it didn't connect, the shockwave it produced was strong enough to hurl him even further backwards, making him drop Samahata. Yes. Well done, Sakura-san. Darui praised as he rushed forward. His hand expertly caught Samehada before the falling blade could even touch the water. This sword belongs to Kyumo now. Let's see how well you do without AGH. Much to the Kyumo ninja's surprise, spikes sprouted from Sameheda's handle, forcing him to drop the blade. Blood was pouring from the holes his now useless right hand had. Darui-san. Sakura cried, as he jumped back towards him. Quickly, give me your hand. Are you a medic? Darui asked. Sakura's answer came in the form of the mystical palm jutsu. In a few seconds, the bleeding stopped and the holes were healed, making his hand look like it was never damaged. Thank you. Wow, you're really good. Sakura smiled at the compliment. Thanks. Kyumo might have the best swordsman, but no village tops Konoha when it comes to medics. Good thing that you're on our side then, Darui said, still taking a look at his hand, before his eyes focused on Samehada, floating beside him. Though apparently I'm not a good enough swordsman for that sword. If that thing is a sword to begin with. Suddenly, as if Kisame was pulling an invisible string, Samehada flew towards him, and the blue-skinned ninja casually caught his sword back. You're right, Samehada is more than just a special sword, Kisame said, grinning again. It was created by the first Jinchuriki of the Three Tails, using the chakra-absorbing coral the Three Tails produces to build it. The result was a sword that could absorb ninjutsu and transfer it to its wielder. Eventually, due being made of living matter and all the chakra it consumed, Samehada became sentient and grew a mind of its own, though it still remained a weapon. It only obeys one ninja at once, and has its ways to punish little thieves that want to get their hands on it. Samehada will never belong to another ninja as long as I'm alive. Don't worry, that has an easy solution, Sakura replied, frowning at Kisame. Did I tell you that you're way over your heads trying to fight me? You have seen only an iota of my true power, Kisame taunted. As Kisame, Sakura and Darui continued to fight, Yujito fought as the Nine Tails, transformed into the beast she was carrying inside. The scale of such battle made it all but impossible for the rest of the ninjas to intervene in much capacity. The Konoha and Kyumo ninjas watching the battle discussed what they could do. Come on, there has to be something we can do to help Yujito, Atsui insisted. She told us not to interfere. The scale of this battle is way above us, so please cool down, Samui told her brother. I'm with Atsui here. Our power might be insignificant compared to them, but that does not make us useless. We can turn the tide of the battle, Sasuke interjected. Rin, do you think you can immobilize the Nine Tails with your wood release? Karen asked, before she realized what she just said, and chuckled. Wood release not happy to come back from the dead, she also has wood release of all bloodlines, I could try, but it's moving way too fast, Rin pointed out. For the time being, let's be cautious and watch. Sooner or later, an opportunity to intervene will present to us, Shizun stated. Or maybe we could try and create those opportunities ourselves, Sasuke said, as he bit his thumb before he started to walk forward while making hand seals. Sasuke-kun, wait. Don't do anything reckless. Shizun asked. Doing something reckless is still a better alternative than doing nothing at all, Sasuke snapped, finishing the seal sequences, slamming his hand into the water surface. Summoning Jutsu. From a cloud of smoke, a giant hawk emerged, flapping his wings as he took off, with Sasuke riding on his back. Sasuke commanded the bird to fly towards the two fighting tailed beasts. Shiyun sighed, and shook his head. That boy's going to get himself killed, the older medic Nin said. Okay, Sasuke took the choice from our hands. We'll approach with caution and move when there's a chance to act, or if our side is losing. Whatever, just let go with the action already, an impatient Atsui stated, before Samui smacked him the back of the head. Ow! Thank goodness they aren't using tailed beast balls, or else we could easily end up as collateral damage, Shizun pointed out. Tailed beast ball? Karen repeated. It's a tailed beast's most powerful attack. It was Rin who answered. The tailed beast gathers a lot of chakra in their mouth, forming a ball, which is then released in the form of said ball that can explode upon contact, or in the form of an energy beam or wave for a more focused area of destruction. You know an awful lot about tailed beasts, Karen commented. It was because of Minato-sensei. He used to study them in a very thorough fashion, Rin explained. Though the fact that Kushina-san was a Jinchuriki does explain where that interest came from. If that's the case, then I guess it's because they're fighting too close to each other for an attack of such magnitude, Samui guessed. If they do, there's a big chance they might hurt themselves. Not to mention all the unwanted attention that such attack would bring to this place, Shizun added. Wouldn't be that a good thing? Karen asked. If more Kumo ninja came to help Yujito, Samui shook her head. We need quality, not more quantity. If Killer B-sama or Reikage-sama came, they could easily turn the tide of the battle. But other Kumo ninja would barely make a difference. If somebody sees this fight, it would be better if they warn Kumo about what's going on, rather than join the fight themselves. But by the time reinforcements arrive, it might be too late, Rin pointed out. Meanwhile, above the two fighting giant beasts, Sasuke's hawk was flying in circles. As the Uchiha on top of it carefully analyzed the clash, Sharingan activated in order not to miss any detail, as small or insignificant as it might be. Cat flame roaring fire. The two tails opened her jaws, and fired several large fireballs at the 9 tails. The fox, however, deflected said fireballs with a flick of his many tails, some of them being redirected into the sky, while others fell on both the ground and water around them. After that the 9 tails charged at the 2 tails. Yujito decided to return in kind and charge at him as well. However, just before the two could meet in the middle, the 9 tails abruptly stopped and spun over himself, delivered a 9-tailed tail blow at the surprised Jinchuriki, who was hurled backwards. Well done, Kyubi, Obito said, reappearing beside his subdued tailed beast. He quickly made several hand seals. Wood release, deep forest emergence. Multiple wooden vines emerged around the still dazed Jinchuriki, wrapping around her neck and limbs, immobilizing her and binding her chakra. That should take care of it. Now, let's deal the finish blow. Obito said. The 9 tails opened his maws, and started to gather chakra into an ever-expanding sphere. The Konoha and Kumo ninjas still in the ground knew the Kyubi was charging a tailed beast ball, and if the attack hit, it would mean the end for Yujito. Sasuke had left before hearing the explanation on what that attack was. Not that he needed it to know that it was bad news and, if it wasn't stopped immediately, the Akatsuki would win. Almost on instinct, the youngest Uchiha jumped from his flying summon, and aimed his fall towards the fox's face. He made a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Sasuke wasn't stupid enough to use his real self as a human missile towards a tailed beast, not when a clone would do just fine. He then transferred all his momentum to the clone by pushing it downward the moment he appeared. In the couple seconds before the clone would hit his destination, he made several hand seals. Fire release, Burning Man. The clone was surrounded by an aura of fire just before it crashed against the 9 tails' left eye. The beast howled in pain, losing control of the forming tailed beast ball, which exploded in his mouth, hurling him backwards. No! Obito yelled. Atsui, let's release Yujito while the 9 tails is incapacitated. Samui suggested, as she unsheathed her tanto while rushing towards the immobilized giant cat. All right, her brother said, following Samui and unsheathing his katana as well. Now's our chance. Shizun said, as she rushed towards the beast, with Karen and Rin following her. Rin, try to subdue it now. Rin nodded, and her hands flew through hand seals once again. Wood release. Deep forest emergence. More wooden vines emerged around the 9 tails and wrapped around him, just like they also bound his 2-tailed sister. Though the damage caused by the failed tailed beast ball wasn't as severe as it appeared, as the Kyuubi had enough strength to trash against the restraining wooden vines. "Karen, help her subdue him," Shizun said. Karen took a step forward, and made a hand seal. Adamantine sealing chains. Multiple chains of chakra emerged from her back, and they wrapped themselves around the Nine Tails limbs, just like the wooden vines did, and combined their suppressing effects to subdue the angry monster. The Kyuubi trashed again, but his movements were much slower and sloppy, as he progressively became less and less active. The combined power of both jutsu was too much for him to handle. "Very good. Keep going like that, girls," Shizun cheered. Fire release, Phoniec Sage Fire Jutsu. A volley of fireballs rained upon Karen and Rin, seemingly out of nowhere, blowing the two girls away, and in Karen's case, forcing her to release her chains from the incapacitated fox. "I won't let you interfere any further," Obito said, as he landed in front of them. He then turned around, and started to throw more fire jutsu at the vines still pinning the giant fox down. Meanwhile, at the other side of the flooded village, Darui and Sakura continued their 2-on-1 fight against Kisame. "Things are looking grim over there," Darui said, who had just glanced back to the two-tailed beasts duking it out, before his visible eye rested on Kisame. "Sorry man, but I'm afraid we'll have to end this pretty quick. We're needed over there. I was having a lot of fun, but if you want me to end this quickly, I can do that as well," Kisame grinned, as he suddenly disappeared. Darui tensed, as he gripped the handle of his cleaver. Where did he dash? From underwater. "Watch out," Sakura warned. Both the blonde-haired man and pink-haired girl jumped in time before a shark jumped out of the water, its jaws full of teeth wide open. Another one jumped immediately afterwards against Sakura, but the kunoichi managed to punch it in time, sending it skidding across the water surface, before it disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Another one met the same fate when Darui sunk his electrified cleaver into its flesh. However, more and more sharks started to come out of the water, in greater numbers and higher frequency. It was becoming increasingly harder for the two ninja to keep up the pace. In no time they would be overwhelmed. "I can see the bastard below us," Darui told Sakura, as he slashed an incoming shark. "Summoning more shockers. Hell, I bet these sharks aren't even real. He just plans to tire us out before delivering the finishing blow. In that case, we should ignore these fishes and go after him directly," Sakura suggested. "I had the same idea," Darui asked, as he sheathed his cleaver. "Protect me for a few seconds, will you?" Sakura nodded, and pushed her body as much as she could in order to fend off the sharks coming from every direction. Fortunately, a few seconds is all what Darui needed to weave the necessary hand seals. Lightning release, Black Panther. Darui's hands crackled with black electricity, which condensed into a mass of dark lightning that took the shape of a panther. The panther dived underwater headed for Kisame, but it was intercepted by several of the sharks he was constantly summoning. "Damn, such a failure," Darui complained. "Reaching him underwater is going to be a challenge." "Not that much. I have a way that will open a direct path to the Akatsuki, but it will only last for a few seconds," Sakura told the Kyumo Jonin. "Sorry for being skeptical, but what do you plan to do? Punch the water really hard so the shockwave creates a vacuum zone?" Sakura smirked in return. "You just read my mind." Dory's visible eye widened. Are you serious? You might want to take a step back," Sakura said as she leaped into the air, her fist wound back. Darui did as Sakura was told. However, as he was the only one touching the water surface, now all the sharks were aiming for him. Unsheathing his cleaver once more, the Kyumo Jonin went into the defensive. "Shinaro!" Sakura hollered, as she came down, her fist impacting against the water surface. The effect was immediate. The force released by the impact created a shockwave that pushed all the water aside in every direction, creating a rather large hole in the water, with a genuinely surprised Kisame at the bottom. "Damn! That girl looked pretty dull, but she packs quite the mean punch. If Konoha has more ninja like her, we might be screwed, Darui said, mostly to himself. Come on, attack, he's wide open. Sakura shouted. Darui nodded, and jumped into the hole the Pinkette had literally punched in the water. Unfortunately for him, Kisame was able to shake off the shock and expertly parry Darui's blow with his much bigger sword. Before the Kyumo ninja could force the blue-skinned Akatsuki into the defensive, Kisame wasted no time and counterattacked with a series of rapid swings of his massive blade. The dark-skinned ninja replied by jumping backwards, while making several hand seals. Storm release, laser circus. Joining his hands together, Darui fired another salvo of light blue beams at Kisame. The Akatsuki smirked and prepared to defend. You're not going to catch me off guard with your little light show again, Kisame confidently said, and when the beams were close to him, he delivered a very wide swing, Samahata absorbing them. As I said you're wide open. Another Darui appeared before Kisame, his cleaver ready to slash the Akatsuki to bites. However, Kisame was fast enough to parry the clone's blow as well, and deliver another swing that knocked the sword out of his hands. You expected to catch me off guard with a clone? I'm starting to feel insulted, Kisame chuckled, as he delivered another blow to the clone. But much to his surprise, the clone caught Samahata, wrapping his arms around it. Samahata grew several spikes in order to eviscerate the clone, but much to Kisame's shock, not only the clone did not dispel, but the spikes even failed to pierce him, as his skin was extremely hard. Now I got you, the Darui clone burst in smoke, revealing that it had been Sakura all along. Her skin was now a metallic brown while her hair was silver. Did you forget about me already? Come on Darui-san, before the sword absorbs my iron skin jutsu. You don't have to tell me twice, Darui replied, as his hands flew through hand seals. Lightning release, double Black Panther. Darui's hands generated a mass of the aforementioned black lightning, which took the shape of two panthers, ready to pounce on Kisame. Seeing that there was no point in struggling, Kisame dropped Samahata and jumped away, just as the water started to fill the hole while it formed a whirlpool. The shark ninja decided to counter Darui's ninjutsu with one of his own. I don't need Samahata to beat opponents of your level, he shouted, as his hands quickly formed hand seals, before Thursdaying them forward. Water release, Great Shark Bullet Jutsu. Kisame created a gigantic shark made of water before sending it towards Darui and Sakura. This jutsu can absorb the chakra of other ninjutsu and add it to its own power as if it was Samahata. I don't know what those Black Panthers do, but they won't touch me. Kisame boasted, as his face formed a grin of confidence. However, much to his surprise, the Black Panthers maneuvered around the shark-shaped missile, gracefully avoiding it. What? Kisame asked in shock. I'll take care of that. Sakura said, placing herself in front of the shark bullet. She spread her arms wide, as two giant fists made of chakra appeared around her fists. Cherry Blossom Thunderclap. Sakura slammed her fists together, creating a powerful shockwave forwards, which easily shattered the water shark bullet when crashed against it. Just as I thought. I can use my chakra-enhanced strength to create shockwaves, but since they lack chakra, they can't be absorbed, Sakura thought, pleased with her deduction. That moment, a lightning bolt fell from the storm clouds above, landing somewhere near the spot the rest of her teammates were fighting Obito and his tailed beast. Sakura saw that the Nine Tails was down, and smiled. She turned her sight back to the enemy at hand. Lightning release jutsu packs a lot of power, but they're usually hard to control and direct. Black lightning has no such problems. And as you're going to experience, it's also more powerful than regular lightning as well, Darui explained, enjoying Kisame's predicament. Unable to defend or even dodge the attack, the two lightning panthers crashed against Kisame, engulfing him in an explosion of black electricity. When the electricity faded, Kisame was still there, his clothes and skin badly burned, but still in condition to fight. The Akatsuki extended his right hand, and Samahata flew to it. I'm going to admit, that hurt a lot, Kisame chuckled, sounding oddly nonchalant. But these wounds will stay here very little. I can use Samahata for Kisame was interrupted by a massive explosion coming from behind. Both him and his opponents forgot about each other for a moment, as their eyes were focused on the massive blast. The Akatsuki grinned. Oh, look at that. It seems that Obito is finally done playing, Kisame laughed. Sakura and Darui looked horrified at the other battlefield. Just what happened over there? Sakura cried. As Darui and Sakura's fight against Kisame was winding down, the fight of the giants had been halted by both Rin and Obito incapacitating the other side's tailed beast with their wood release. Not that they were going to just leave things that way. Let's release Yujito. Atsui said, as made a couple of one-handed hand seals, as his other hand held his katana. Fire release, burning edge. Atsui's katana was coated in fire, as he dashed towards the giant incapacitated cat. He quickly started to slash the vines with his flaming blade, but they proved to be more resistant than their appearance suggested. Don't go all by yourself, let's work together. Samui replied, as she made several hand seals, before unsheathing her tanto. Lightning release, thunder blade. Samui's tanto started to crackle with electricity, and the blonde rushed towards the vines, cutting them in one swing each. Her brother, who was having more trouble, noticed this, and frowned. Hey, how the hell did you took so little to cut so many vines? The indignant blonde complained. Wood release is a combination of water and earth, both elements weak to lightning, Samui replied matter-of-factly. Aw man, that's not so hot, he complained. Suddenly, more vines started to emerge, replacing the ones the Kumo siblings had cut. What the hell? Atsui protested. Ah, come on. This is not so hot. Quit complaining. If the vines regrow, we will cut them faster than they can regenerate. Samui insisted, as she pressed on. As the Kumo siblings liberated their Jinchuriki, or at least tried to, Obito was doing the same with the Nine Tails. Unlike the Kumo siblings, Obito had to contend with the Konoha ninjas attempting to keep the Kyuubi incapacitated. I never thought that you'd use the gift I gave you against me, Rin. Your disloyalty knows no limit, Obito said with an angry snarl. You never thought? Rin replied, just as angry. In what world would I approve of everything you're doing? All these meaningless deaths. All the suffering you're spreading. Sometimes you need to cut a limb in order to stop a disease from infecting the rest of the body. Given that you're a medic, I thought you'd understand that, Obito fired back. Not before I did everything to save that limb first. Rin shouted, as she dashed towards Obito. The two former teammates engaged in a hand-to-hand duel. Due to his experience and height advantage, Obito thought Rin wouldn't be much of a challenge, but he was surprised by the brown-haired medicnine's skill and physical strength. All I need is to knock her out, and she won't be able to keep the Nine Tails incapacitated, Obito thought, as he ducked a roundhouse kick from his former crush. I knew about her physical enhancements, but when did she become such a good fighter? As he was fighting Rin, he failed to see Shizun coming at him, who delivered a painful kick to his temple, sending him flying several meters to the side, skidding on the watery surface. Just as the other time. If he wants to hit us, he needs to be corporeal. There's our chance to hit, Shizun said. We can take advantage of our numerical superiority. You think you're so clever, do you? Obito said as he stood up, rubbing the spot Shizun had kicked in. Let's see what do you think about your numbers after this. Wood release, wood clone jutsu. Several clones made of wood started to grow from Obito's body. Once fully formed, they split from his body, placing themselves in a circle around the Konoha ninjas, and adopting fighting stances. They counted 9 clones in total. You're not the only one who can do that. Rin replied, as she echoed Obito's actions. However, the brown-haired girl was only able to produce 3 clones of herself. Obito couldn't help but chuckle. Even if you have the same power as me, my skill is far superior to yours. Take care of them while I release the 9 tails. Obito commanded. Oh no, you won't get away. Sasuke yelled, as he leaped at the original. One of the clones jumped to intercept Sasuke, but the youngest Uchiha easily sliced him in 2 with a swing of his katana. Fire release, burning edge. Lightning release, thunder blade. Holding his katana in one hand and his shoto in the other, the former's blade was coated in flames while the later started to crackle with electricity. Obito started to weave hand seals, a chain that he had used before a couple times, and that Sasuke had memorized thanks to his Sharingan. He knew what attack would come next. Would release, deep forest emergence. Sasuke was ready to destroy whatever wooden vines Obito threw against him, his senses looking for the first sign of the attack to come. Except, much to his surprise, the attack didn't come. Or better said, it did come, just not from the direction the youngest Uchiha was expecting. Even more vines emerged around the 9 tails. Though rather than wrap themselves against him, they started to pull the first vines Rin had summoned. And while the brown-haired medic was busy fighting the clones, she was unable to direct chakra to keep her vines in place. In no time, the 9 tails was free again. Didn't see that coming, Sasuke? Obito mockingly asked, as he jumped onto the fox's head. Ninjas nowadays seem to focus too much on power and forget about the subtle art of misdirection. Damn you, was all what Sasuke could said, gritting his teeth. Looking up, he saw that his hawk summon was still flying above the 9 tails in circles. He let out a whistle to call it down. No! The 9 tails is free! Shizen cried, as she was fighting the remaining clones. I'll subdue it again. Rin said, as her hand started to form the same hand seals she used before. Would release dash, you think I will let you? Obito spat. The 9 tails delivered a wide swipe with one of his tails. The Konoha ninjas jumped in time to avoid it, but the sheer force of the swipe was so great, the shockwave it created as enough to hurl them backwards. Sasuke managed to jump onto his hawk's back, and even if it was caught in the burst of wind, the giant bird was able to maneuver around it much better. Alright, this ends here, Sasuke said, as he sheathed both his bladed weapons, as his left hand started to crackle with electricity. The next jutsu will finish this fight. Obito couldn't repress a laugh. You're delirious, Sasuke. No jutsu, no matter how powerful, can subdue a tailed beast, other than would release. You might be right, but it's worth a try, Sasuke said, raising his electrified hand towards the sky. Do you think that if I gathered several dozen lightning bolts and threw them all at your pet, would he survive? While I admit you have grown powerful over the years, no jutsu of your own can have the strength you claim. No human being could gather that much power, Obito countered. Oh, I'm aware of that. But if instead of lightning generated by my chakra, I merely used my chakra to redirect natural lightning towards you? Sasuke asked. Suddenly, a bad feeling washed over Obito. Looking up, he realized that the sky had turned really dark, with several lightning bolts jumping from one cloud to another. Where did those storm clouds come from? Obito asked, a bit surprised. I admit this jutsu requires a bit of a setup. You know, all the fireballs I threw at you from below, that when you dodged, kept flying upwards into the sky? Yeah, their true purpose was to stir the clouds into storm clouds. The 2 tails fireballs that you deflected into the sky were of real help as well, Sasuke explained. Suddenly, all the lightning in the clouds merged in the form of a serpentine dragon. The name of the jutsu is Kirin. Now begone. Sasuke brought his hand down, and in a split second, the Kirin fell down, blasting into the Kyubi. The fox let out a loud and long howl of pain, before he succumbed to the power of several lightning bolts condensed into one, falling to the water with a loud splash. Obito was nowhere to be seen. Sasuke deduced that he had teleported away. My most powerful jutsu, the Kirin. Stronger than the Annihilation Nova, with only consuming a tiny fraction of its chakra cost, Sasuke reflected, as he examined the results of his attack. He then turned at the rest of his teammates, looking at the down-tailed beast with a flabbergasted look. Quickly, seal the beast within Kirin, before it wakes up. This seemed to snap the three women out of their stupor, who nodded and rushed towards Sasuke. Okay, how do we do it? A nervous Kirin asked. Like this, Shizun said, taking a step forward, while making a hand seal. 8 trigram divination seal. In a poof of smoke, Shizun summoned an octagonal platform with an altar in the middle, and 8 lit candles on each of its corners. Now, Kirin, lie down on the altar, Shizun instructed. The redhead looked at the altar, her lips quivering, but she didn't move. Noticing it, Shizun added, Kirin, everything's going to be okay. It's normal to feel afraid, but I promise you your life won't change that much. We're all here to support you. Kirin, come on, we have no time. Sasuke urged. Letting out a sigh of defeat, she conceded and walked towards the altar. I wish Mom or Niji-kun were here. Alright, let's get this over with. Rin, immobilize the 9 tails again. I'm not as skilled in sealing as Hokage-sama or Naruto-kun, and I'm going to need some time to do the ritual. We don't want it to wake up in the middle of the sealing, the oldest kunoichi told her. Rin nodded, and walked towards the unconscious beast, ready to perform the same jutsu she had used several times before, and started making the hand seals. Would release, deep forest dash, suddenly, the 9 tails' eyes snapped open, and with a loud growl, quickly stood on its legs. It raised one of its paws ready to crush the shocked medic Nin. Fortunately, Sasuke appeared before Rin and the fox. Everybody, behind me! Sasuke yelled, as a giant, ghostly purple ribcage formed around the group at the same time the paw came down. Even if Sasuke's Susanoo absorbed most of the impact, it was unable to withstand such a powerful blow, and Shizun's medical squad plus Rin were swiped away as if they were flies. Did you really think that jutsu of yours would be enough to subdue a tailed beast? Obito mockingly asked, as he reappeared on top of the fox's head. Pitiful. If you weren't so afraid of using your real power, the outcome of this fight might have been different. But there won't be any more chances for you. While I'm sure Rin will survive this attack, I can't say the same for the rest of you lot. The 9 tails opened his jaws, and started to gather chakra into an ever-growing sphere. Everybody panicked. They were still recovering from the brutal blow the 9 tails had delivered them. There was no time for counterattacks, and dodging an attack of such magnitude would be useless. The tailed beast ball charged, the Kyuubi fired it forward. Sasuke tried to shake off the feeling of anguish washing over his body in order to summon another Susanoo for protection, but found himself unable to. This can't be my end, not like this, Sasuke said, gritting his teeth in impotence. But the end didn't come. Suddenly, a black and blue blur dashed between the tailed beast ball and them. He didn't need his Sharingan to realize it was the 2 tails, or better said Yujito, who for some reason had decided to become a human shield and take the blast herself, being engulfed by the ensuing explosion, which was thankfully cushioned enough that the Konoha ninjas were merely hurled backwards a few meters by the shockwave. When the explosion was over, the Yujito was no longer in her 2 tails form, but had reverted back to human. Her body was floating in the water, being rocked by the small waves created by the exploding tailed beast ball. Just as expected, Obito smirked, as he landed beside the unconscious Yujito with a splash, and carried her over her shoulder. 2 voices cried as Obito did this. Yujito! No! The now one-eyes Uchiha saw Samui and Atsui desperately rushing at him, their weapons drawn, ready to rescue their comrade. But in their haste, they didn't take into account the 9 tails' presence, who, with a flicker of one of his tails, hurled the 2 Kyumo-nin backwards. I think we can assume the fight is pretty much over, Obito said, before making a hand seal, causing the 9 tails to disappear in a cloud of smoke. Farewell. A spiraling vortex appeared around Obito's eye, and the Akatsuki and his captured Jinchuriki were gone in an instant. A few seconds later, Obito repaired behind Kisame, and spirited the other Akatsuki away. For about 10 minutes, nothing happened. Both Kyumo and Konoha ninjas remained silent, at most exchanging questions like, "Are you okay?" and offering to heal wounds, mostly those from Samui and Atsui, who got several broken bones from the 9 tails tail swipe. They felt so lost and dazed, especially the Kyumo ninjas. It was Rin who broke the silence. "Why?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Why what?" Samui asked back. "Why did she save us?" Rin replied. "Why did she take that attack aimed for us? She could have used the chance to escape. Now she's going to die, just because she wanted to save a bunch of ninjas from a non-allied foreign village that didn't know that much. Yujito didn't do it just to save you. She saved all of us," Atsui replied. "What?" a confused Rin asked. "A tailed beast ball is no dull attack. If she didn't use her own body to shield us, the resulting explosion not only would have killed you, but all of us as well," Darui explained. "Sorry for rushing you, but how long until you finish healing them? We need to go back to Kyumo and plan a rescue party. If Akatsuki plays their cards well, Obito is on his way to take Yujito out of Lightning Country," Shizun sourly thought, but decided to keep those thoughts to herself. Nobody would gain anything by demotivating the Kyumo ninjas. Almost there, it was Sakura who replied, as she finished healing Samui's arm. "Broken bones can't be properly healed with medical ninjutsu alone. We patched you up as well as we could, but you should go to a hospital as soon as you return to your village and get proper treatment there." "I see. Thanks for your help then," Samui replied. "And thanks for helping us against Akatsuki, even if in the end it was for naught. We'll make sure to tell Reikage-sama about how you fought alongside us. If it can help to ease the relationship between our villages, please do so," Shizun interjected, sounding almost pleading. "The threat of Akatsuki is too big for a single ninja village to handle." "We will," Darui assured, before turning to his 2 remaining squad mates. "Alright, Samui, Atsui, let's go." And thus the 3 Kyumo ninjas leaped away, rushing north towards their village. "I think we should head back to Konoha as well," Shizun somberly said. The rest agreed. Konoha, a few days later on the way back, the mood didn't improve. They still felt the weight of the defeat at the hands of the Akatsuki. Even if they didn't have any personal ties with the Jinchuriki, who wasn't even from an allied village, the outcome of the mission weighed heavily on them. They barely talked, and only traded words when necessary. For some reason, Karen looked the gloomiest of them all, even more than Rin if it was possible. "Konoha is up there," Shizun pointed out. And yes, just like the medic Jonin said, the walls of Konoha could be seen in the distance. This seemed to lift the mood, even if it was just a little. "Finally, home," Sakura said, letting out a sigh. "Okay, I know you guys are exhausted, both physically as well as emotionally, so you can go home. I'll go to the Hokage Tower and give Hokage-sama the mission report," Shizun offered, something her subordinates greatly appreciated. However, there was still one last obstacle they had to face before they could rest and put this disastrous mission behind. The moment they crossed the gates, they saw a certain blonde ninja rushing towards them. "Shizun Nichan! Karen Nichan!" Naruto cried before landing in front of them. "I arrived as soon as I got the message from Dad regarding the mission. How did it go?" The somber look on the medical squad and Rin's faces was all the Jinchuriki needed to know their answer. Unfortunately, he barely knew half of the story, and once again, it was Shizun who took up as her duty to deliver the bad news. "Naruto Kuinai was going to the Hokage Tower. Come with me and I'll tell you what happened. We have some bad news that you need to know," Shizun said, as she and an apprehensive Naruto headed towards the tower. A few minutes later, Sasuke returned to his apartment. As expected, Itachi wasn't there. It would be at least a week until he returned from that mission. Hopefully, his brother would be more successful than he had been so far. At first, the youngest Uchiha merely dropped himself onto a couch, hoping to get some rest and put this mission behind him. But he found himself unable to. "I don't get it," he said to no one in particular. "This wasn't the first mission I failed. I had no ties with the Jinchuriki. I don't care what happens to Kyumo or its ninjas," Sasuke said out loud. His hand clenched into a fist. "Then why does it hurt so much?" Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.